1 month before the 2026 college entrance exam, Zhao Xian slammed the table, claiming he had obtained a batch of overseas miracle drugs, down 1 dose and you wouldn't sleep for 7 days and nights, guaranteeing an extraordinary performance. The whole class went crazy pooling money together. I blocked the door and shouted, "There's no such thing as getting fat from 1 bite in this world. There isn't even an ingredient list. Who's going to take responsibility if someone gets heart failure?" After hearing what I said, everyone backed off from buying, but on the day results came out, Zhao Xian got into a top school thanks to his special talent bonus points, then sneered, "If it weren't for the class monitor blocking you, you all could have made it too. Now it's all his fault." At the farewell dinner, the entire class shoved my head into the scalding red oil hot pot, and I died in agony. When I opened my eyes again, Zhao Xian was once again holding out those tubes of blue-green liquid. This time, I smiled and stepped aside. The ceiling fan in the classroom creaked as it spun. I saw Zhao Xian's hands suddenly jerk back as he raised the blue-green liquid. The scene was all too familiar. In my past life, I died from the chain reaction triggered by this very liquid. At the farewell dinner, over a dozen classmates shoved my head into the boiling red oil hot pot, scalding me to death. "Lu Yu, you're the class monitor, say something." Lin Siqi's voice pulled me back to reality. She stood next to Zhao Xian, her ponytail swinging back and forth, her eyes full of expectation for me. In my past life, she had the same look. Later, at the farewell dinner, she was the first to press down on my shoulder. "Monitor, Brother Xian got some overclocked brain fluid from overseas. 1 bottle and you can stay awake for 7 days and 7 nights. Drink 1 before the exam and you'll soar." Zhao Xian shook the medicine bottle in his hand, the blue-green liquid glowing eerily under the fluorescent lights. "And the price isn't bad, 3,000 per bottle, buy 3 get 1 free, whispers spread through the classroom. 3,000, that's a bit expensive, but if it really helps you pass the exam, it's worth it. What connections does Brother Xian's family have to get such good stuff?" I stood up, and Lin Siqi's eyes lit up. "Is the monitor going to be the first to buy?" I stepped aside, clearing the way to the podium. "Brother Xian has connections everywhere, such good stuff. Here, why aren't you all jumping on it?" The classroom fell silent for 2 seconds. Zhao Xian was stunned. He had thought I'd block the door and resist desperately, just like in my past life. Lin Siqi was also taken aback, whispering, "Lu Yu, weren't you always against this kind of thing? Does it matter if I'm against it?" I smiled, slipping my hand into my pocket to feel the recording device's switch, pressing it gently. "It's your own business if you fail the exam anyway," Zhao Xian snapped out of it and laughed heartily. Lu Yu's finally wised up. "All right, since the class monitor's given the green light, anyone who wants to buy, transfer the money now." The classroom instantly erupted. Scanning sounds came one after another. "I'll take 2, 3, I'll buy 3 directly." "Siqi, what about you?" Zhao Xian asked. Lin Siqi bit her lip, stole a glance at me, and whispered, I'll buy 1. I retreated to my seat in the last row and placed my backpack on the desk. The voice recorder in my pocket faithfully captured every successful transfer sound. "By the way, Xian Gu," I suddenly spoke up. Zhao Xian looked up. "What's up? Will this potion affect the unified medical checkup before the college entrance exam?" Zhao Xian patted his chest. "Don't worry, there's absolutely no way they'll find out. Let me tell you, it metabolizes really fast, completely undetectable in 3 days." "That's good," I nodded, took out my water bottle from my backpack, and took a sip. Lin Siqi bought the medicine and walked over, speaking softly. "Lu Yu, if you don't have money, I can lend you some." "No need, don't be stubborn, 3,000 yuan is really not a small amount." I said. "No need." I cut her off, my tone very calm. Lin Siqi froze, her face flushing bright red. "What kind of attitude is that? I'm doing this for your own good, doing me a favor by lending me money to buy illegal drugs." "What do you mean by illegal drugs?" Brother Xian said. "These are health supplements." "Health supplements without an ingredient list. You, all right, Siqi." Zhao Xian walked over and patted her on the shoulder. "Since squad leader Lu Yu doesn't appreciate it, there's no need for us to force ourselves on her." He deliberately raised his voice. "Anyway, when the results come out, we'll see who's crying and who's laughing." A chorus of agreement echoed through the classroom. Exactly, exactly. Lu Yu is just jealous. Can't afford it herself, so she won't let others have it either. What's the use of rote learning? What matters now is efficiency. I placed my water bottle back on the desk and opened my textbook. The red light on the voice recorder blinked in my pocket. The next morning, As soon as I entered the classroom, I was hit by a pungent smell of chemicals. Wang Chao, sitting in the front row, was slumped over his desk, his eyes bloodshot, his fingers frantically scribbling something on a piece of paper. Wang Chao, I called out. He jerked his head up, the whites of his eyes streaked with red. What? I glanced at the test paper on his desk. A math mock exam. He had answered 17 multiple-choice questions and gotten 12 wrong. Nothing. I sidestepped him and headed to the last row. As I passed Lin Siki's seat, she was holding a mirror and applying lipstick, her dark-circled eyes reflected in the glass. Lu Yu, she called out to me, what's the matter? Can I borrow your mistake notebook to make a copy? Lin Siki closed her compact mirror and turned to look at me. Brother Xian said this mock exam is especially important. There are a few math concepts I still don't quite understand. Go find Zhao Xian, with his miracle cure. What's there to fear about exams? She took a deep breath and lowered her voice. Lu Yu, don't go too far. I only bought the medicine because I had no choice. My family is counting on me to get into college. Had no choice. Spending 3,000 yuan on unbranded products. Keep your voice down. Lin Siki looked around nervously, then turned back to glare at me. Are you going to lend it to me or not? No. I spent half a year organizing my error notebook. If you want one, organize it yourself. I walked past her and continued forward. Behind me came the sound of a book slamming onto the desk. Lin Siki's voice carried a hint of tears. What's so great about you? Just because you have good grades, do you really think you're some kind of savior? I didn't look back. I sat down in the last row and pulled out my textbook and notebook. Lu Yang, sitting in front of me, turned around and lowered his voice. Lu Yu, aren't you afraid of offending people? What's there to be afraid of? Don't you know Zhao Xian's background? He's on the school board. You embarrassed him today, and he'll definitely hold a grudge. Oh, and Lin Siki, didn't you grow up together? You're really burning bridges with her. Did you buy the medicine? Lu Yang was taken aback. I bought 2, yeah. I opened my English textbook and said nothing more. During the break of the third period, Zhao Xian stood on the podium. Everyone, listen up. He clapped his hands, and the classroom fell silent. The second batch of potion will arrive the day after tomorrow. If you want to buy, hurry up. Also, buy. Someone from below asked. Is it different this time? Zhao Xian lowered his voice and said mysteriously, the second batch is the enhanced version, with double the effect. Those who felt the effects from the first batch are advised to get another round for reinforcement. How much is it? 5,000. The classroom erupted. 5,000. That expensive? Are you robbing us? Zhao Xian waved his hand. You get what you pay for. Let me tell you, this batch is specially made in the lab. Ordinary people can't even get their hands on it. His gaze swept across the entire class, finally landing on me. Of course, if you can't afford it, forget it. It's not like I'm the one who won't pass the exam anyway. A few classmates turned their eyes toward me. I kept writing my notes without even lifting my head. At lunch, the cafeteria was buzzing with talk about the potion. Did it work for you? Yeah, last night I memorized my textbook until 3 in the morning and didn't feel sleepy at all. Same here, my mind felt super clear, but my heart was racing a bit, and I had a nosebleed while brushing my teeth this morning. A nosebleed is normal, probably just getting overheated. I grabbed my tray and found a corner to sit down. My phone buzzed. Lin Siki sent a message. Lu Yu, could you let Brother Xian have that provincial recommendation form you've got? I put down my chopsticks. What do you mean? Brother Xian said that as long as he gets the recommendation spot, he won't have to take the college entrance exam, and he'll give all the remaining potion to our classmates for free. Tell him to come see me himself. You agreed. I said to tell him to come find me. Not that I agreed. 3 days before the first mock exam, the atmosphere in the classroom was clearly off. The morning self-study bell had been ringing for a while, but more than a dozen people still hadn't shown up. Lu Yang yawned and said, they stayed up all night again doing practice problems. I studied until 5 in the morning last night. I'm dead tired. I glanced at him. His dark circles nearly reached the corners of his mouth, and the hand holding his pen trembled slightly from time to time. You pulled an all-nighter too. I can't focus on studying. Lu Yu, don't laugh. After taking the medicine, my mind is clearer, but I just can't sleep. How many days have you been without sleep? Lu Yang counted on his fingers. Started last Friday. Today's Wednesday, right? 6 days. Are you crazy? What crazy? Brother Xian said it's a normal reaction. He leaned in and lowered his voice. Let me tell you, yesterday I aced 3 sets of comprehensive science papers. I used to get half of the multiple choice questions wrong. I didn't say anything. In the first math class of the afternoon, Zhang Jingguo walked in with a stack of test papers, mock exam, finish it in 2 class periods. As the papers were handed out, the classroom was filled with the rustling of paper and the scratching of pens. When I reached the third big question, I heard a faint thud from the front seat. Lu Yang's head was drooping little by little, and the pen slipped from his hand. He jerked his head up, slapped his face hard, and then bent down to continue writing. 5 minutes later, he started nodding off again. This situation spread throughout the classroom. Some were lying on their desks asleep, others were pinching their thighs to stay awake, and still others, like Lu Yang, were nodding off little by little. Pull yourselves together. Zhang Jingguo tapped the blackboard. This is a mock test, so take it seriously. The startled students looked up blankly, their eyes bloodshot. After class, Zhao Xian was on the phone loudly in the hallway. Don't worry, Dad, I'll definitely make it into the top 50 of the grade this time. He hung up and saw me walking over with a smile. Lu Yu, I heard the preliminary list for the Provincial Outstanding Student Recommendation has come out. Yeah, you have it. Yes, congratulations. He patted me on the shoulder, lowering his voice. But you'd better cherish that recommendation spot. Plenty of people are eyeing it, like you. Zhao Xian chuckled. I call this earning it through strength. Once the first mock exam results come out, won't it be clear who's better? He turned and walked away. The first mock exam results were announced on the third day. A large red and black list was posted in the teaching building lobby. First place, Lu Yu, 681 points. Second place, Zhao Xian, 675 points. Brother Xian, awesome, only 6 points behind Lu Yu. The medicine really makes a difference. Cheers erupted from the crowd. Zhao Xian was surrounded in the middle, his smugness almost overflowing. Just normal performance, nothing special. His gaze swept past the crowd and landed on me, a smirk curling at the corner of his mouth. I looked toward the bottom of the list. Lin Siki had a total score of 612, ranking 47th in the grade. Wang Chao had 589, ranking 78th. Lu Yang had 603, ranking 56th. They were all crowded near the cutoff line for key universities. After school, Lin Siki came up to me. See that? She waved her report card in the air. I improved by 60 points. Congratulations. What are you still acting all high and mighty for? She stuffed the report card into her backpack. Brother Xian is right. You're just jealous. You study yourself to death and can't stand seeing others take shortcuts. What happened to your hand? I stared at her right hand. Her fingertips were trembling slightly, and the area under her nails was turning blue. Lin Siki hid her hand behind her back. None of your business. She turned and ran off, her ponytail swinging high. As I walked out of the school gate, I spotted a few empty medicine bottles thrown in the trash can. A blue-green liquid residue clung to the glass, faintly glowing in the sunset. I bent down to pick one up, wrapped it in a tissue, and put it into my backpack. That evening, I sent a package via SF Express to the Provincial Testing Center. In the recipient field, I filled in anonymous, with a note that read, suspected to contain high concentrations of nerve stimulants. Please issue a test report as soon as possible. Discipline Director Wang Zhangwo arrived at the classroom on Thursday morning. He stood at the podium and adjusted his glasses. I have an announcement to make. The classroom fell silent. This year, there is only one spot for the provincial recommended student. He paused. Based on the first mock exam results and daily performance, the candidates are Lu Yu and Zhao Xian. Whispers began to spread below. Lu Yu, Zhao Xian, you two come up and get the recommendation forms. I stood up and walked forward. Zhao Xian approached from the other side, and as he passed me, he lowered his voice and said, I yield to you. I took the form and returned to my seat. Wang Zhangwo continued, after filling out the recommendation forms, you need the entire class to sign in support. Submit them to the discipline office before next Monday. As soon as he left, the classroom erupted, definitely voting for Xian Gu. Xian Gu took us to buy medicine. We owe him one. What does Lu Yu have? Just good grades. But his character is terrible. He won't even lend out his error notebook. Lin Siki was the first to stand up. I propose the whole class unify and recommend Zhao Xian. She walked to each seat with a petition form. Anyone who disagrees can raise their hand. All eyes turned to me. I leaned back in my chair and didn't raise my hand. Lu Yu, what do you mean by that? Lin Siki walked up to me. It's meaningless. I put the recommendation form into my backpack. You all sign yours, and I'll sign mine. You want to sign your own recommendation form alone? Lu Yu, don't be so selfish. Her voice turned sharp. Everyone thinks Brother Xian should be recommended. What makes you so special? Just because I'm also a candidate. I stood up, towering a head above her. Enough, Siki. Zhao Xian walked over and pulled her back. The form has already been given to her. Let's not stop her from dreaming. He turned to look at me. Lu Yu, go ahead and try. Let's see if the endorsement of 42 classmates carries more weight, or your self-nomination alone. Agreements rang out. In the classroom, exactly. Let's all sign for Brother Xian. Just wait. Lu Yu, Lin Siki slapped the petition on my desk. Do you want to take a look? Everyone in the class signed except you. I glanced at it. 41 votes in favor, 1 abstention. Done looking, I pushed the petition aside. Zhao Xian, congratulations on passing the preliminary review. Thanks for yielding. He smiled and sat back down in his seat. After school in the afternoon, I went to the dean's office to submit the recommendation form. Wang Jiangwo took it and flipped through it. Why isn't there a seconder? It's not needed. Lu Yu, rules are rules. Without the seconder's form, this recommendation can't be submitted. Then I'll sign a seconder myself. I pulled out another piece of paper from my backpack and wrote my name on it. Wang Jiangwo frowned. Just one person signing for you. That's against the rules. Which rule? I looked at him. The recommendation policy says it requires a fellow classmate's endorsement. It doesn't specify a minimum number. I'm a classmate too. Wang Jiangwo was silent for a few seconds. Are you sure you want to go against the whole class? I just want to follow the rules. I slid both the recommendation form and the endorsement form toward him. Also, I'm requesting a health exemption for a special physical examination. What? Recommended students need a medical examination, right? I looked into his eyes. I demand the strictest standards for the medical check. Wang Jiangwo stared at me for a long time. Fine. He picked up the official seal and stamped a red mark on a special approval form. Since you insist, we'll follow the rules. As I walked out of the dean's office, my phone buzzed. Lin Siki sent a WeChat message. Lu Yu, did you submit the recommendation form? How long are you going to keep this up? Don't you know that Brother Xian has already spoken to the admissions office? You can't beat him, I replied. Then I turned off my phone and stuffed it back into my pocket. At the end of the hallway, Zhao Xian was leaning against the wall, holding a blue potion in his hand. Lu Yu, I stopped. I heard you requested a special medical checkup. Yeah, Zhao Xian chuckled, shaking the medicine bottle. Don't worry, this stuff won't show up on tests. Just don't be too disappointed when the results come out. I didn't say a word, walking past him. Oh, by the way. He raised his voice. Siki already gave me that notebook of yours with the wrong answers. She grabbed it while you weren't in the classroom. Thanks. I didn't stop walking. 2 weeks before the college entrance exam, the classroom had completely become Zhao Xian's territory. Above the blackboard, a countdown was written in chalk, and below it, a line of crooked words read, "Thanks to Brother Xian for providing the miracle drug." During math class, Zhang Jingguo was on the podium explaining the final set of practice questions. When he got to functions, Wang Chao's head slammed onto the desk with a thud, and blood started flowing from his nose. Dark red blood spilled onto the test paper, seeping into the answer sheet. Zhang Jingguo threw down the chalk and rushed over. Wang Chao lifted his head, his face pale as paper, the whites of his eyes completely bloodshot, and nosebleeds trickling down the corners of his mouth. Teacher, I'm fine. He struggled to stand up, but his legs gave way and he collapsed. Directly, screams erupted in the classroom. Zhang Jingguo helped Wang Chao up and headed out. Lu Yang suddenly stood up as well, covering his nose and rushing out. Drops of black nosebleed splattered on the floor. What's going on? Zhang Jingguo demanded sternly. No one answered. I looked at Zhao Xian. His face flickered for a moment, then returned to normal. It's a normal reaction. He stood up, his voice cold. My dad said this is a detox reaction. When the brain runs at high speed for a long time, blood vessels expand, a little nosebleed to expel toxins. It's a good thing. That's right. Sun Lei from the front desk chimed in. I had one yesterday too. After it stopped, I felt much clearer-headed. Me too. I was worried at first, but after Brother Xian said that, I feel relieved. Detox is great. After getting rid of the toxins, your IQ will be even higher, Lin Siki whispered. Did you notice? Lu Yu doesn't even qualify for detox. A few girls snickered. Zhang Jingguo hesitated for a moment but still helped Wang Chao to the infirmary. The classroom quickly returned to its lively state. Brother Xian, do you have any more medicine? I want another one. I want one too. The second batch of the enhanced version will arrive next week. Zhao Xian raised his voice. Hurry up and place your orders if you want one. Supply is limited. How much does it cost? 6,000. This price made many people gasp. 6,000. That's way too expensive. Wang Chao is lying in the infirmary now. Who knows if it's because of the medicine he drank? Zhao Xian's face darkened. Then he doesn't have to buy it. Anyway, I don't have enough to sell. Before he finished speaking, Sun Lei stood up. I want it. Me too. Count me in. I counted and saw there were 19 more transfers. After class, Lin Siki stopped me. Her eyes were red, her lips chapped, and her hands trembled so much she could barely hold her phone. Lu Yu, her voice was a little hoarse. Lend me 2,000. I don't have enough money for medicine. Go ask Xian. Xian said I can't buy on credit. Then don't buy it. No. She became agitated, her nails digging into my arm. If I don't buy the medicine, how can I take the college entrance exam? I scored 612 on the first mock exam. I'm just one last push away. I pried her hand off me. Do you even remember your name is Lin Siki? You used to cry when you failed English, and now you can't even pass the passing line, yet you think you're improving. I watched her face slowly turn pale. Your total score is 612. What's your English score? She said nothing. 87, last month's exam, you scored 103 in English. Lin Siki's lips trembled. That was because the exam was hard. The standard score doesn't change with difficulty. I took out a book titled Common Side Effects of Neurological Drugs from my backpack and placed it on the table. Just take a look. She glanced at the title, her face turning completely pale. What do you mean? She snatched the book and tore it in half. Lu Yu, let me tell you, I won't read it. All I know is that without Brother Xian, I wouldn't even have scored 612. She threw the torn pieces at me. If you want to die, go ahead and die yourself. Don't drag me into it. The fragments fluttered down and landed on the table. At that moment, the classroom door was pushed open. Wang Chao stood at the entrance, supported by the school nurse. His nosebleed had stopped, but both nostrils were plugged with cotton balls. His face pale as paper, he held 2 exam papers in his hands. The teacher asked me to bring the papers back. His voice was hoarse. I glanced at the test papers. One scored 32 in math, the other 45 in English. Wang Chao walked back to his seat and slumped into the chair, motionless. Sun Lei leaned in. What's up, Chao? Weren't you at 120 in math last week? Wang Chao didn't reply. With a trembling hand, he fished a bottle of blue potion out of his desk, tilted his head back, and gulped it down, his throat making a gurgling sound. Sun Lei shrank back and returned to his seat. When the bell rang for dismissal, my phone buzzed with an email, sent by the Provincial Inspection Center, with a subject line that read, Expedited Test Report, Sample Composition Analysis. I clicked on the attachment. The first line of the first page held my gaze for a long time. Using gas chromatography, mass spectrometry, the submitted pale blue-green liquid sample tested positive for methamphetamine, with a concentration as high as 37%, classifying it as a high-concentration new type drug. Additionally, 7 controlled stimulant components, including pseudoephedrine and codeine, were detected. I put away my phone. Zhao Xian was walking around the classroom with the payment QR code. Scan this code, everyone, note your class and name. The phone kept buzzing repeatedly. Lin Siki had somehow managed to raise the money and also scan the code to pay. She walked right past me without even glancing my way. I slung my backpack over my shoulder and walked out of the classroom. My phone buzzed again. Another anonymous email. Per regulations, the test results have been copied and sent to the Provincial Department of Education, the Education Examination Authority, and the Anti-Drug Brigade of the Municipal Public Security Bureau. The college entrance examination medical checkup was scheduled for Wednesday morning, organized by the school. The entire class took a bus to the designated tertiary hospital. The atmosphere on the bus was eerie. Did you have a nosebleed last night? Yeah, but not much. My gums were bleeding. I spit out a whole sink of blood when brushing my teeth this morning. It's normal, just detoxing. Zhao Xian, sitting in the first row, turned around to reassure everyone. Don't panic. The physical exam is just a formality. My dad has already spoken to the hospital. He held a list in his hand. The 19 people who signed up for the second batch of medication, and he had marked them all with a red checkmark. Wang Chao was leaning by the window in the last row, eyes closed, lips pale, and cotton balls stuffed in his nose. Brother Chao, are you still drinking the medicine today? Sun Lei asked in a low voice. Wang Chao opened his eyes, pulled a blue potion from his pocket, unscrewed the cap, and gulped it down. The bus fell silent for a moment. Brother Chow, you have the physical exam today, won't they find out? His voice was hoarse. Brother Xian said they won't find out. I sat by the window in the fourth row. My phone buzzed. The second email from the Provincial Testing Center. Comrade Lu Yu, based on the clues you provided, our center, in coordination with the Anti-Drug Division of the Municipal Public Security Bureau, has conducted a comprehensive investigation of the drugs involved. The Education Examination Authority has initiated a special random inspection procedure for the college entrance exam physicals. The special physical exam you requested for the recommended students has been approved, and dedicated personnel will oversee the entire process. I deleted the email. The bus stopped at the hospital entrance. The medical checkups were conducted in class order, and our class was in the second batch. In the waiting area, Lin Siki was restless, holding a bottle of water and taking 7 or 8 sips. Lu Yu, she suddenly called out to me, you're sure they can't find out? Her eyes were bloodshot, and her lips were dry and peeling. Don't you trust Zhao Xian? You won't like my answer. She bit her lip and turned away. The medical checkup began, and everyone lined up by student number for blood draws. When it was Wang Chao's turn, the blood that came out wasn't the normal dark red, it was black, as if mixed with soy sauce. The nurse was visibly startled, looked up at Wang Chao, and asked, "Have you taken any medication recently?" No. The nurse frowned and made a few notes on the form. When measuring blood pressure, the machine's alarms went off one after another, 150 to 100, 158 105ths, 162 110ths. The doctor in charge of the checkup turned pale and called over the supervising teacher. "What's going on with your class? Why is the rate of high blood pressure so high?" The lead teacher, Mr. Lee from the physical education department, scratched his head and said, "Maybe it's pre-exam nerves. Can pre-exam nerves push blood pressure to 160? The doctor pointed at the fluctuating numbers on the monitor. "If it gets any higher, it could qualify as a hypertensive crisis," Zhao Xian interjected. "Doctor, many of our classmates have been staying up late recently. Could it be due to lack of rest? And you are?" "I'm Zhao Xian." He pulled a business card out of his bag and handed it over. "My dad is on the board of directors." The doctor took the card, his expression shifting slightly. "Oh, Boss Zhao's son, yeah." Zhao Xian lowered his voice. "Doctor, can you loosen the standards for the medical checkup results a bit? These are all hard-working students. It's a shame to fail them just because they're nervous or didn't sleep well." The doctor was silent for a few seconds. "All right, I'll be a bit more lenient with the blood pressure part. Thank you, doctor." Zhao Xian turned around and made an okay gesture to his classmates. Lin Siki let out a long sigh, while Sun Lei was so excited he kept rubbing his hands together. Only Wang Chao sat in the waiting chair, his hands trembling so much he couldn't hold his cup. The ceramic mug shattered on the floor with a crack. The nurse rushed over. It's okay, I'll sweep it up." Wang Chao looked up. His nose was bleeding again, dark red drops staining the white floor, glaringly conspicuous. I said nothing, turned around, and walked into the next examination room. On the third day of the physical exams, the dean's office called me in for a talk. Wang Zhengwo sat behind his desk, with 2 documents laid out in front of him. One was the reply to my special approval for the physical exam, and the other was the notice of Zhao Xian's preliminary approval for direct admission. Wang Zhengwo adjusted his glasses. "Lu Yu, the medical check results will be out the day after tomorrow at the earliest, but before that, you need to make a decision. Are you going to continue with the direct admission or take the college entrance exam?" "Both." "No, the rules say you can only choose one." He pushed 2 documents over. "See for yourself." I picked up the reply letter, stamped with a red seal. The special medical check application for direct admission students has been approved. The check will take place 5 days before the college entrance exam, at a grade 3A hospital for specialized tests, including drug and doping screening. Take another look at this. Wang Zhengwo pushed another document over. It was Zhao Xian's preliminary approval notice, with 41 names densely signed below it. "Everyone except me. Zhao Xian's family donated an experimental building to the school. You can't compete with that kind of connections." Wang Zhengwo lit a cigarette. "Take your teacher's advice. He's taking the college entrance exam, and with your grades, you can easily get into a 985 university. So you're telling me to give up the recommendation?" "I'm not telling you to give up. I'm telling you to face reality." Smoke swirled in the air. "I know there's something off about Zhao Xian's medicine too, but who is his father? Someone who can get the principal fired with just one word on the school board. Would your Report even matter? He looked at me. I also have connections at the Public Security Bureau. Remember that test report you mentioned? It might not even make it to the investigating officer's hands in the end. I remained silent. All right, go back and think it over. Wang Jianping stubbed out his cigarette. If you really can't come to terms with it, just pretend I never said anything. I stood up and walked to the door. By the way, Teacher Wang, how did you know I sent the complaint letter? Wang Jianping's hand, holding the teacup, paused. Without waiting for his answer, I pushed the door open and walked out. At the end of the hallway, Lin Siki stood at the classroom door. She had clearly lost weight, her school uniform hanging loosely on her body, with several purple bruises on her wrists. Lu Yu, her voice was weak and feeble. How much money do you have left? What? Lend me some money. I need to buy the third batch of pills. Xian Gu said there's an ultimate version that's even stronger than the previous ones. Are you crazy? I'm not crazy, she suddenly screamed. I can't even read simple English texts now. Without taking the medicine, I can't read a single word. A few classmates in the hallway turned to look. Do you know what you look like right now? I looked at her. Have you even looked in the mirror? She instinctively touched her face. Her cheekbones protruded, her eye sockets were sunken, and her lips were chapped like sunbaked mud. You lost 12 pounds in half a month, your hands are shaking, you have nosebleeds, insomnia, and your memory is plummeting. I listed them one by one for her. Lin Siki, you have all the typical side effects of methamphetamine. Meth? What? The scientific name for crystal meth. She stumbled back 2 steps. You're lying. That's called a detox reaction. Fine. I stepped around her and walked forward. Then keep on detoxing. After 3 steps, she suddenly grabbed my backpack from behind. Lu Yu, you. Do you know something? There was finally fear in her eyes. Tell me, say something. I pried her hand off. Tell you what, would telling you make you sober? Would telling you stop you from buying a third batch of medicine? She stood there frozen, her hands still in the position of grabbing the backpack. Lin Siki, do you trust Zhao Xian or me? Choose for yourself. I pushed open the classroom door and walked in. Zhao Xian was standing at the podium, holding 3 bottles of golden liquid medicine in his hand. Third batch of the ultimate version, limited to 20 bottles. First come, first served. Below, a mountain of hands were raised. The second mock exam was held 10 days before the college entrance exam, also known as the third mock exam. The atmosphere in the exam hall was 10 times more tense than the first mock exam. The proctor handed out the test papers, and the sound of flipping pages filled the air. After finishing 3 reading comprehension passages, I looked up to stretch my neck. A girl sitting in the 4th row by the window was lying on her desk. The proctor walked over to her and gently tapped her shoulder. Classmate, don't sleep during the exam. She lifted her head, her lips pale and her forehead covered in cold sweat. Teacher, I feel terrible. Before she could finish, she crashed to the floor with a loud thud. The exam hall erupted in chaos. Call 120, hurry. 2 teachers helped her up and rushed her out. I glanced at the exam schedule posted on the wall. This was already the 3rd case of someone collapsing during an exam in our class in the past 3 days. After the exam, a crowd gathered in the hallway. Sun Lei was sitting on the windowsill, his head resting against the glass, his eyes vacant. I'm not taking the exam anymore, he muttered. I can't remember anything I read. My brain feels like mush. Sun Lei, don't give up. Lu Yang grabbed his arm. The college entrance exam is coming up soon, just hold on a few more days. What's the point of holding on? I bet my second mock exam score for science won't even reach 100. He broke free from Lu Yang, pulled a bottle of golden liquid from his pocket, threw it on the ground, and crushed it under his foot. Blue-green liquid splattered everywhere. I'm not drinking it anymore. Whoever wants to drink it, go ahead. He jumped off the windowsill and staggered toward the school gate, but after a few steps, he suddenly fell to his knees and vomited violently. The vomit also had an eerie blue-green color. No one dared to step forward to help him. Zhao Xian came out of the nearby classroom, glanced at the broken medicine bottle on the ground, and said, it's his own weak constitution. Who's to blame? Others drank it and were fine, so why did he react so strongly? Exactly. Lin Siki chimed in beside him. She was holding the English test paper that had just been handed out. I glanced at it and saw a score of 72. On the last mock exam, she had scored 87. Lu Yu, you're first again this time, Zhao Xian asked with a smile. Does it have anything to do with you? Of course it does. He lowered his voice. I heard you're still applying for the recommended admission medical checkup, the specially approved kind. I didn't answer. Go ahead and get checked. Whatever, he shrugged, it won't show anything anyway, but after the checkup, you'll be completely out of the game. What do you mean? What I mean is, whether that whistleblowing letter and test report of yours can reach the right people still depends on a word from my family. He patted me on the shoulder. The people from the Provincial Inspection Center might not be there in a few days. Remember, those things will become worthless paper. With that, he whistled and walked away. In the afternoon, the rankings were posted. My name was still at the top of the red list. I looked further down. Out of 43 students in the class, the number of those in the top 100 had plummeted from 18 to 6. The bottom 11 were all from our class, including Wang Chao and Sun Lei. Next to the ranking list was another notice. The second mock exam results will serve as the final basis for determining the recommended students for direct admission. Lu Yu, who ranks first overall, automatically qualifies for the recommendation. Due to significant fluctuations in Zhao Xian's grades, his recommendation qualification has been revoked. Zhao Xian's face turned green when he saw the notice. He pulled out his phone and dialed a number. What's going on with the recommendation list? After a few words from the other end of the line, Zhao Xian's voice grew louder. What did you say? Even if the first mock exam results counted, I should still be eligible. What do you mean by comprehensive evaluation? He hung up and kicked over the trash can, which clattered loudly as it rolled far away. He turned around, his gaze fixed directly on me. The night the early admission notice was posted, I got cornered in the men's restroom. Zhao Xian led the charge, followed by 7 or 8 boys who usually supported him the most. The door was locked from the inside, and Lin Siki stood at the back, her eyes flickering. Class monitor Lu, you saw the news during the day, right? Zhao Xian leaned against the sink with a cigarette dangling from his lips, blowing smoke into my face. You've got the early admission wrapped up. Yeah, he laughed, flicking the cigarette but into the sink. You really think you're something special, don't you? 10 years of hard studying, staying up till 1 or 2 in the morning, memorizing stuff, and I can catch up to you just by drinking a few potions. You know what annoys me the most? What? You're such a fucking hypocrite. He slammed his fist against the wall beside me, the tiles trembling. I'm sick of your holier-than-thou attitude, sick of your good grades, and even sicker of the way you've always looked down on me. Zhao Xian, have you ever wondered why your recommendation qualification was revoked? Like I need you to remind me. I'm not reminding you. I'm telling you, your first mock exam score was propped up by drugs. His face changed. How many points did you drop in the second mock exam? 114. Is that what you call overperforming? Shut the fuck up. He grabbed me by the collar. Believe me, I can make sure you don't walk out of this bathroom alive. I believe you. I pulled out my phone from my pocket and pressed the record button. But before you make a move, can you first explain something? Why are the 20+ people who took the same drugs as you all now lying in the hospital emergency room? What hospital? Sun Lei this afternoon, Wang Chao in the middle of last night, and 3 girls were carried straight out of the exam hall this morning. I stared into his eyes. Did you never tell them that the stuff your dad got from the dealer contains high-concentration neurotoxins? A muscle in Zhao Xian's face twitched. You found out. What do you think? He took a step back. The expressions of the guys behind him all changed. Brother Xian, is what he said true? Wasn't Wang Chao's nosebleed just from getting overheated? I've been waking up with blood all over my pillow these past few days, and what I threw up yesterday was green. Zhao Xian turned back and shouted, shut up. His voice echoed off the tiled walls. Lin Siki finally spoke, her lips trembling. Brother Xian, is there really something wrong with that medicine? There's nothing wrong. My dad said there's nothing wrong. Then why is my face? She touched her own face, her fingers tracing from her cheekbone to her jaw. I lost 15 pounds in half a month, and there's black stuff under my nails. She held out her hand. Beneath her nails was a patch of blackish purple. Zhao Xian shook off her hand and turned to leave. I took a step sideways to block the doorway. Move aside. You haven't answered their questions yet. I said there's no problem. Then why did your father transfer all the remaining drugs overnight the day before yesterday? Zhao Xian froze. I continued, your father told you, didn't he? The people from the Provincial Inspection Center weren't reassigned by your father. Instead, they were taken into custody by the Anti-Drug Division of the Municipal Public Security Bureau. The bathroom was silent except for the sound of running water. Zhao Xian's face turned from pale to green, and he suddenly pushed me aside, yanked the door open, and rushed out. His footsteps thudded down the hallway, gradually fading away. The remaining people exchanged bewildered glances. Lin Siki slowly crouched down, wrapped her arms around her knees, and her shoulders shook violently. Lu Yu, she looked up, crying, can I really still take the college entrance exam? I looked at her for 3 seconds. Yes, push the door open and walk out. 5 days before the college entrance exam, a special medical examination was conducted at the Provincial People's Hospital. The entire process was recorded, conducted in a tertiary hospital, with a supervisor sent by the Department of Education. Blood draw, urine test, electrocardiogram, electroencephalogram. I lay on the examination bed for nearly 2 hours. After the last item was completed, the doctor looked at the report and nodded. No issues, you can sign. He picked up a pen and wrote 2 characters in the result column, qualified. Then he sealed and stamped the medical file envelope. The inspector took the file and placed it in the briefcase. Student Lu Yu, your direct admission qualification has passed the final review. Go home and wait for the notice. I stood up and walked toward the door. The inspector called out to me, oh, by the way, the evidence you sent to the testing center was a huge help. What evidence? The transfer records between Zhao Xian's father and the black market drug dealers. He pulled a photo from the very bottom of his briefcase. In the photo, Zhao Zhengwo held a box of golden liquid in his left hand while shaking hands with a man in a baseball cap with his right. You sent this photo along with the package, right? Don't worry, the city police have already filed a case. On the day of the college entrance exam, after the last subject is finished, he will be arrested along with his son's classmates. I pushed the door open and went out, taking the bus back to school. When I returned to the classroom at 3 in the afternoon, I found that my seat had been ransacked. Books from the drawer were scattered all over the floor. My notebook was torn to pieces, and on the desk, 4 big words were written in red marker, watch your step. I crouched down to pick up the books that were still readable and stacked them up. Lin Siki ran in from outside, panting as she looked at me and said, Lu Yu, Zhao Xian said he's going to take you down at the farewell dinner. Don't go tonight. Why shouldn't I go? You're insane. He called in outsiders, not from the school. She grabbed my arm. I just heard him on the phone in the hallway, saying something like, let her keep bouncing around for a few more days, send her straight to the hospital after the college entrance exam. You need to get out of here now. You came to tell me this. Aren't you afraid Zhao Xian will find out? Lin Siki froze, slowly letting go of her hand. When I woke up last night, the pillow was covered in blood. It wasn't a nosebleed. My entire mouth was bleeding. I spat out a whole basin of blood. She cried, tears streaming from her sunken eye sockets. Lu Yu, I'm scared I won't make it to the college entrance exam. I looked at her. This was the first girl who had pushed my head into a hot pot, and now she was as thin as a stick of dry firewood. Go to the hospital. No need, Lin Siki, I interrupted her. When will you finally understand? Zhao Xian has been lying to you from start to finish. She opened her mouth but couldn't speak. I stuffed the book into my backpack and slung it over my shoulder. Go to the Provincial People's Hospital this afternoon, register at the emergency internal medicine department, and tell them you've been taking medication of unknown composition for a long time, with symptoms of vomiting blood and gum bleeding. The doctor will know how to handle it. I walked around her and headed out. What about you? She turned and took 2 steps after me. Are you going to take the college entrance exam? Yes. I pushed open the classroom door. My exam venue is at No. 11 Middle School. Behind me came the soft sound of her gasping. At 8 p.m., at the Hot Pot City across from the school, the class's farewell dinner was held in a private room on the 3rd floor. When I pushed the door open, the place was already in chaos. Zhao Xian sat at the head of the table, with 3 bottles of golden potion placed in front of him. Lu Yu is here, someone shouted. Everyone turned to look. Zhao Xian stood up and waved his hand. Sit down, the class monitor saved a seat for you. He pointed to an empty spot by the round table. The sound of bubbling red oil filled the private room. Zhao Xian stood up and poured me a glass of wine. Lu Yu, this toast is for you. He pushed the glass toward me. 3 years of hard work as class monitor. I glanced at the wine glass but didn't take it. What's the matter? Not giving face. Zhao Xian raised an eyebrow. A few nearby guys also stood up. Lu Yu, Brother Xian is toasting you. Yeah, it's the last farewell dinner. At least have a drink. The private room fell silent, and everyone was looking at me. I picked up the glass, brought it under my nose, and sniffed. A pungent medicinal smell hit me. What did you put in this wine? I set the glass back on the table. A flicker of stiffness crossed Zhao Xian's face. Just regular baijiu. What could I add? Then take a sip. I'm toasting you, and you want me to drink. Aren't you toasting me? You drink first. I pushed the glass back. Zhao Xian stared at the wine, his Adam's apple bobbing up and down. What? Afraid to drink? I leaned back in my chair, hands in my pockets. Xian Gu, you dare to sell this stuff to others, but you don't dare to drink it yourself. What do you mean by that, Lu Yu? Lin Siki suddenly stood up, her face flushed bright red. Xian Gu is being polite by toasting you, and you're still acting up. I cut her off, my gaze sweeping across everyone in the private room. That batch of golden potion you bought, it's the same thing. You've been drinking it for almost a month now. Has Xian Gu ever touched a single drop himself? Zhao Xian's hand trembled slightly. He makes you guys drink meth, but he drinks Mao Tai at home. I pulled out my phone from my pocket and opened a photo. It showed Zhao Xian's home liquor cabinet, filled with famous wines. Someone below gasped, Lu Yu, what the fuck? Zhao Xian lunged for my phone. I twisted my wrist and pulled it back. What's the rush? It's a farewell dinner, isn't it? Time to speak freely. I stood up, picked up the ladle on the table, and stirred it in the bubbling red oil hot pot. In my past life, it was this very pot. The scalding red oil splashed onto the back of my hand, leaving a red mark. In my past life, they pressed my face into this pot. It must have been 100 times more painful than this. Lu Yu, stop being so sarcastic. Sun Lei slammed the table and stood up, his right hand wrapped in gauze. He had just been discharged from the emergency room 2 days ago. We all drank that stuff voluntarily. It's none of your business. That's right, we did it willingly. Don't act like you actually care about us. Voices of agreement rose one after another. I set down the ladle and pulled a document from my backpack, a red letter heading stamped with the Provincial Inspection Center's seal. This is the test report for that batch of golden potion you drank. I tossed the file onto the table, the pages sliding half a turn across the surface. Methamphetamine content, 43%, pseudoephedrine, 12%, codeine, 8%, according to Article 347 of the Criminal Law. The starting sentence for trafficking over 50 grams is 15 years. The air in the private room felt as if it had been sucked out. Sun Lei slowly sat down, his face turning pale. Wang Chao lowered his hand that was covering his nose. Lu Yang repeated, 15 years, impossible. Lin Siki grabbed the document, her fingers trembling. This must be fake. Lu Yu forged it. There's the phone number of the Provincial Inspection Center on it. You can call to verify. I placed my phone on the table as well. Lin Siki stared at the string of numbers, her face turning from pale to green. She turned to look at Zhao Xian. Brother Xian, tell us this is fake. Zhao Xian leaned back in his chair, his lips tightly pressed together, his expression darker than anyone else's. He suddenly laughed. Lu Yu, do you think a test report can do anything? He pulled a business card from his pocket and slapped it on the table, the gold embossed letters reading, Deputy Director of the Provincial Inspection Center. Zhang Guoqing. Do you know who Zhang Guoqing is? My dad's old classmate. He lit a cigarette and took a drag. Do you think those empty bottles you sent will end up in whose hands? With just one word from my dad, Zhang Guoqing can change this report to not detected. He flicked the ash into the hot pot, producing a sizzling sound. So what? I looked at him. So this report is just a piece of scrap paper. Zhao Xian stood up and walked over to me, standing very close. Lu Yu, in these 3 years, I could make you class monitor, and I could also keep you from even entering the exam hall. Do you think you've won? On the day of the college entrance exam, you'd better pray nothing happens to you. The door of the private room was slammed open. 2 men in black t-shirts walked in, tattoos on their necks. Young Master Xian, it's time. Zhao Xian nodded at them, then patted my shoulder, his voice lowered. Don't even think about finishing the exam. You won't even finish this one subject. He turned to grab his clothes. Lin Siki suddenly stood up, her voice trembling. Brother Xian, is it true that they won't find out? Of course it is, but I vomited blood again this morning. She rolled up her sleeves. Her wrists were covered in patches of blue and purple, not bruises, but subcutaneous bleeding spots, densely packed like a handful of black sesame seeds. Zhao Xian frowned. If your constitution can't handle it, don't blame my medicine. But, he shook off her hand, waved at the 2 men in black, and left. The 3 of them pushed open the door of the private room and walked out. I sat back down in my chair, picked up the inspection report, and said, wait. Zhao Xian turned around. One more thing, that person on your business card, Zhang Guoqing, has already been placed under disciplinary review. I opened the notice on the Provincial Audit Commission's official website on my phone. The call records with your father, the transfer records, and the illegal hiring documents from 3 years ago have all been handed over to the Procuratorate, the smile on Zhao Xian's face completely froze. So this report isn't just a piece of paper. I put the inspection report into my backpack. It's the evidence your father and you will present in court. Zhao Xian stumbled back 2 steps. You're talking nonsense. He pulled out his phone and frantically dialed, only to hear the recorded message that the number he was calling was switched off. He dialed again. Still off, again. Off. Everyone in the private room stared at him, watching his fingers jab frantically at the screen. The 4th time, the 8th time, the 10th time, the phone slammed onto the floor with a crack. Zhao Xian turned around, his eyes bloodshot. Lu Yu, what did you do? What did I do? I just sent a few empty bottles. The rest was brought up by your father himself. Bribery, smuggling prohibited drugs, covering up major criminal cases, enough for a 15-year sentence. Zhao Xian's face twitched violently. The man in black behind him tried to step forward, but he stopped him with a wave. I remember this. He stared at me, his voice squeezing through clenched teeth. Lu Yu, this isn't over. With that, he slammed the door open, and his footsteps thudded away down the hallway, fading into the stairwell as the 2 men in black chased after him. The private room was dead silent. The red oil was still bubbling and rolling. Lin Siki sat on the chair, covering her face and crying. What do we do? What do we do? No one answered her. Wang Chao held his nose. The tissue was once again seeping dark red liquid, trickling down his fingers. He stood up and stumbled out. Wang Chao, where are you going? Hospital. After saying those 2 words, he pushed open the door and disappeared into the hallway. Lu Yang grabbed his hair and squatted on the ground, muttering the same sentence. Can I still take the college entrance exam? Faces blurred in the steam rising from the hot pot. I slung my backpack over my shoulder and stood up. As I passed by Lin Siki, she suddenly grabbed my wrist. Lu, she looked up, her eyes red and swollen. Save me, please. I don't want to die. I looked at the bruising under her fingernails, which had turned from blue to black. Go to the hospital tomorrow, bring all the medicine you've taken and tell the doctor the truth. But Brother Xian said I can't tell anyone. Lin Siki, I interrupted her, my voice calm. Do you still trust Zhao Xian? She froze, her hands loosening and falling to her sides. The night before the college entrance exam, I packed my test materials and placed them on the table. Pencils, pens, erasers, admission ticket, ID card, each item neatly arranged in a row. My phone buzzed with a text from an unfamiliar number. Tomorrow, 11th high school exam venue, East Gate, don't use the main entrance. I didn't reply. I deleted the message. Outside, the city gradually quieted down. Then the phone rang. It was the provincial admissions office inspector. Lu Yu, tomorrow after the last exam, there's a special medical check for recommended students at the Provincial People's Hospital. Don't leave after the exam. A dedicated car will pick you up. Also, that photo you sent earlier was a big help. The anti-drug squad now has all the evidence of Zhao Jiangwo's deals with his superior. The operation will commence tomorrow night after the exam. I hung up the phone, lay down on the bed, and closed my eyes. At 2 in the morning, the outside suddenly became noisy. The sharp, piercing sound of police sirens, approaching from afar, then fading away, disappearing in the southern part of the city. I turned over, and my phone screen lit up. The class group chat exploded. Holy crap, police cars are parked right outside Brother Xian's building. I saw it when I passed by. So many people, and some fully armed. Brother Xian got arrested. No way, no way. Messages flooded the screen instantly. And then the WeChat group was suddenly disbanded. The system prompted, this group has been disbanded by the group owner. The group owner was Zhao Xian. And just as that account issued the disband command, his profile picture turned gray. At 3 in the morning, Lin Siki called. She was crying so hard she could barely breathe. Lu, Zhao Xian was just taken away by the police. I'm not lying, I saw it with my own eyes. There were over a dozen police cars downstairs at his place. I know. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Lu Yu, did you know from the very beginning that the drug was drugs? I didn't answer. Then why didn't you stop us? You knew everything. The sound of police sirens outside the window gradually faded away, and the city's night returned to silence. I tried to stop them. After saying these 3 words, I hung up the phone. I tried to stop them in my past life, and I was shoved into a hot pot. In this life, I won't stop them again. At 4:30 in the morning, I got up to wash up and brush my teeth, when the exam bell rang. I was in test room No. 3, sitting by the window, with Chinese as the first subject. The invigilator handed out the papers. I glanced at the essay prompt and began writing on the answer sheet, stroke by stroke, calm and steady. Occasionally, birds chirped outside the window. As I was working on the reading comprehension section, a scream rang out from the neighboring exam room, followed by the clatter of desks and chairs and hurried footsteps. The invigilator frowned, walked to the door to peek out, then came back. I continued writing. Second paper, Math, 3:00 p.m. The fan in the exam room groaned as it spun. With 40 minutes left, clattering footsteps suddenly echoed in the hallway, followed by the squeaking wheels of a gurney. Someone was being wheeled out from the adjacent exam room, heading toward the school gate. Then came a second, a third. The invigilator's face turned grim, muttering quietly with the patrol supervisor. I finished the last analytic geometry problem and put down my pen. As the bell rang and I walked out, 3 ambulances at the school gate flashed their blue lights, lined up in a row. Third paper, Science Comprehensive. A few people in white coats had appeared in the exam room, standing in the hallway, their eyes scanning the examinees. Midway through, I saw through the window of the teaching building across the way that someone was being pinned down in a chair by 4 people. The person was thrashing violently, slamming their head against the desk so hard that even 4 people couldn't hold them. The patrol supervisor rushed over to help, and chaos erupted. The invigilator behind me sighed, walked over, and said quietly, "A student in your class named Wang Chao. Just now, during the exam, he stabbed himself with a compass. Where is he? He's been sent to the psychiatric department." The teacher shook his head and returned to the podium. I held my pen and continued writing the last experimental design. When I finished, the papers were collected. 4th foreign language class, Zhao Xian's seat was empty from start to finish. The invigilator stamped his answer sheet with an absentee mark. After the exam, it was already dark. I walked out of the testing venue alone. The school gate was crowded with parents, but none were waiting for me. The Provincial People's Hospital's medical examination vehicle was parked at the intersection. The inspector leaned out of the window. "Lu Yu, over here." I got into the car and sat in the back row. The inspector handed me a form. "Fill this out, then go in for the medical exam." He turned his head from the front. "Oh, and one more thing. Zhao Xian was taken into criminal detention this morning." I put down my pen. "Wasn't he released? Wasn't he the one arrested early yesterday morning? He was caught at the exam hall entrance at noon today." The inspector glanced at his watch. At 2:10 p.m., he brought 3 outsiders to block someone at the east gate of No. 11 High School. "Block who?" "Block you. You went in through the west gate, so they missed you." He collapsed on the roadside on the spot and was caught red-handed by plainclothes officers. "He probably never expected you wouldn't take the east gate at all." I continued filling out the form. "And also," the inspector paused, "those students in your class who bought the pills have recently been having episodes in the exam room, one after another. All of this was captured by body cameras, and they'll all be taken in as involved parties for investigation. Over 10 years of hard work, all ruined by a bottle of medicine." I signed the last line and handed the form back. On the day the college entrance exam results came out, I opened my laptop in the rental apartment. The web page refreshed slowly. The class group chat was gone, but dozens of new group chats popped up. Someone added me to a group called Inside Scoop on Admission Scandal. I didn't say a word and muted it. 1 seconds later, the score inquiry system opened. I entered my exam number and ID number. Name, Lu Yu, total score 692, provincial rank, 3rd. The numbers on the screen were still bright. I refreshed once, refreshed again, and confirmed there was no mistake. He picked up his phone and called the provincial admissions office. "Teacher Zhou said, the scores are out, and I've seen your results. Your first choice is secure. Also, the provincial education department will hold a press conference tomorrow at 9 a.m. A press conference about what? The first official briefing on this year's college entrance exam case involving large-scale illegal drug use at a certain high school. The press conference began on time at 9 a.m. the next day, with major media outlets broadcasting live. The deputy director of the provincial education department sat at the center of the podium. Investigation has revealed that a total of 43 students from a certain class in the 3rd year of a certain high school collectively took illegal drugs containing methamphetamine 1 month before the 2026 college entrance exam. The audience stirred, and cameras flashed continuously. Among them, 31 were rushed to the hospital for acute poisoning symptoms during the exam. 17 had their results immediately voided due to drug residue in their systems, and 14 were detained by police on suspicion of drug use. The main dealer, surnamed Xiao, has been arrested by the prosecutors. The barrage of comments flooded the screen. Holy crap, meth, 43 people collectively doing drugs, isn't that suicide, according to the investigation. The key role in this case was played by the class monitor, Lu Yu. It was she who promptly submitted the drug samples to the relevant authorities and provided crucial evidence, leading to the swift resolution of the case. All the journalists turned their heads to look behind them. Among the rows of people below the podium sat me, the flashlights aimed in my direction, and the sound of shutters rained down like a violent storm. In light of Lu Yu's outstanding performance in the college entrance exam and her significant contributions to the case's resolution, the Provincial Education Department has decided to restore and confirm her eligibility for the Provincial Outstanding Student Recommendation. The deputy director paused, looking toward me. The School of Physics at Yenching University has listed her as a special admissions target. After the press conference ended, I walked out through the side door. My phone vibrated wildly, messages flooding in. I didn't reply. Standing at the entrance of the Education Department, I squinted at the flowing crowd. At that moment, someone tugged at my sleeve. I turned around. Lin Siki was wearing a hospital gown, half her head shaved, her face covered in swollen black spots, emaciated beyond recognition, with bones almost visible in her eye sockets. Behind her, a nurse supported her by the shoulders. You came to see me make a fool of myself, didn't you? Her voice was hoarse, as if scraped out by sandpaper. I said nothing, she cried, tears streaming from her sunken eye sockets, tracing paths across those black spots. The doctor said my kidneys are failing, lifelong dialysis, or a kidney transplant. The nurse softly reminded her, Lin Siki, it's time to go back to your room. She didn't move, staring at me intently. You knew from the start that the drug was meth. Why didn't you stop me? Why didn't you stop me? She screamed out in anguish. Everyone in the hallway turned to look. She kept repeating the same words. You knew. So why didn't you stop me? Say something. I did. Lin Siki froze, her hand letting go of my sleeve. Just then, a news notification popped up on my phone. Breaking news, Zhao Jiangwo and Zhao Xian, the main suspects in our province's new type drug case, have been lawfully arrested. The drugs were smuggled from abroad, with the case involving over 3 million yuan. The accompanying image shows Zhao Xian standing in court, handcuffed, with his head lowered. I put my phone back in my pocket, pushed open the glass door, and stepped into the sunlight. Behind me, Lin Siki's cries were sealed off by the glass door. Across the street stood the emergency building of the Provincial People's Hospital. Wang Chao was strapped to a bed in the psychiatric ward, and Sun Lei had been on dialysis until early morning. The morning news on the TV in the lobby was still broadcasting. Drug-involved candidates are banned from taking all national exams for the next 5 years. The anchor's voice drifted through the crowd. In the end, the farewell dinner never happened. First, most people were lying in the hospital. Second, those few who weren't had been taken away for investigation. And third, no one dared to mention the word hot pot anymore. Later, I heard that Zhao Xian was sentenced to 12 years in the first trial, and Zhao Jiangwo to 15 years. The father and son turned on each other in court, making for an extremely ugly scene. The supplier of that batch of drugs was taken down. The entire industrial chain was dismantled, and it was reported on the news. For 3 days, I received my admission letter in mid-August, sent by Yenching University. In early September, I dragged my suitcase to Beijing alone. As the train started moving, my phone rang. The caller ID showed Lin Siki. I didn't answer. I turned the phone over and placed it on the table. On the second day of freshman registration, I saw a notice on the school bulletin board. The Provincial Education Department had issued a new regulation. All recommended students must take an additional psychological assessment. My roommate came over and asked which high school I had attended before. I told him the name of my school, and he let out an "oh," and said, "That's the school where students collectively use drugs." Yes, holy shit, how many people died in your year? No one died. I closed the computer, but a few were pretty much done for in this life. My roommate scratched his head. What was the point? Throwing away your life for the college entrance exam? It wasn't for the exam. Why then? I thought for a moment, to be better than others. My roommate didn't quite understand, and I didn't explain either. Outside the window stood the sycamore trees of Yenching University, their leaves just beginning to turn yellow. Freshmen walked by in small groups below the dormitory building. Some had struggled with all their might to make it here, while others who took shortcuts had ultimately fallen into the abyss. In truth, from the very beginning, the path had always been there, It all depended on how you chose to walk it. I pulled the error notebook out from the very bottom of my suitcase and flipped to the first page. There were notes from my previous life on it, and below them, the new notes from this life. Those few lines written steadily. Autumn comes early in Yenjing. A few plain leaves, swept in by the wind through the window, landed on my desk. I picked up a leaf, thin and crisp, with clear veins. It belonged to a different world from the blue-green liquid in those medicine bottles. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. In my previous life, my father elevated his illegitimate son to the status of a top celebrity. My mother was slandered as a mistress and died of a heart attack in despair. I had my legs broken by the illegitimate son, was thrown onto the streets, humiliated by beggars, and died with deep resentment. On my 18th birthday, I was reborn. Everything was pitch black, with only the flickering light from the candles on the cake. Linger, why are you spacing out? It's time to make a wish. Mom gently patted me, her face beaming with a blissful smile. Seeing my mother alive and well, tears welled up in my eyes. This year, whatever wish my precious daughter wants to make, Daddy will make it come true. Dad looked at me with doting eyes, thinking I would wish for the family's happiness and joy as I always had before. Unrealistic wishes had nothing to do with me from now on. Daddy, can you really fulfill any wish for me? I'm 18 now, already an adult. I lifted my eyelids, revealing a sweet smile. Of course, whatever wish my precious daughter wants to make, Daddy will make it happen. Dad's gaze was firm. I hugged his arm and cooed, Dad, can we start an entertainment company? I'm really interested in the entertainment industry. You want to enter the entertainment circle, become a star? He suddenly raised his voice, as if noticing something unusual, then immediately softened it. Being a star is exhausting. I don't want our baby to suffer. In my past life, to promote his illegitimate son, he specifically founded a company a few years later, yet now, he's reluctant to spend money on me. I sneered inwardly, but my face grew even more enthusiastic. Of course, the daughter of the richest man should be the boss. I'll just be in charge of counting money, letting the professionals help me promote some promising stars. Last time I watched that talent show, didn't you say, Dad, that Junyang looked promising and could become a top star in the future? Dad, how about I sign him first? Junyang is the stage name of the illegitimate son. He looks just like his mother. In my past life, Dad kept mentioning Junyang in front of me, and I never once doubted it. In my past life, Junyang never really took off because of his feminine, pretty looks. Some said he lacked masculine energy, others called him effeminate. Later, Dad used his financial power to strongly promote him, creating a tailored look that changed his aura, transforming him into a top-tier star who eventually became an Oscar-winning actor. That day, he took out photos of him and his dad from childhood to adulthood, and videos of their life together were also posted on his social media account, saying he wanted to thank his father. He even added one last line. If that woman hadn't destroyed the relationship between his mom and dad, the family of three would have been happier. The implication was that my mom was the other woman. Before my mother could even explain, she was besieged by his fans, suffered a heart attack, and died in the ambulance. I still remember the look of despair and anger in my mother's eyes to this day. When my father heard that I wanted to promote Junyang, he immediately smiled and said, whatever our precious wants to do, Daddy supports you. Junyang has already signed with another company. How about Daddy helps you after his contract expires? Although I had anticipated this outcome, hearing it from my father still made my heart sink. Dad, Junyang isn't famous yet. This is the best time to poach him for the highest value. I spoke to him with a serious tone. His contract still has several years left. Once it expires and he becomes a hit, everyone will be scrambling to sign him, and the signing costs will be sky high. Our newly established company won't have any advantage. If we poach him now, the penalty fee will be lower, making it the most cost-effective option. Mom, however, frowned. Old Chu, let Linger sign other celebrities first. As for the star you mentioned, if we can sign him when his contract expires, that's great. If not, we shouldn't force it. After saying this, she turned on the light. Even if we've made a wish, let's just settle on starting the company. From childhood, my parents doted on me. My mother's words were quite normal, but my father fell into deep thought. After blowing out the candles, I didn't look at my father. Instead, I said to my mother, who was cutting the cake, Mom is right too. When he becomes a top star, he'll definitely go to a bigger company that can offer him better resources. Everyone wants to move up in the world. Only after living a second life did I realize that my father was an extreme believer in favoring sons over daughters. My mother, due to her heart condition, nearly lost her life giving birth to me, and the doctor firmly forbade her from having any more children. All these years, he had been very good to us, and we had no idea he had a love child a year younger than me. Based on the timing, as soon as Dad confirmed that Mom couldn't give him a son, he immediately went out to sow his seeds elsewhere. Hearing that Junyoung might be moving to a better company, Dad's smile nearly faltered. Then I'll help you register the company in a few days. I've been busy lately, but I'll take care of it once I have time. Suppressing my discomfort, I hugged him. Thank you, Dad, just give me the money, and leave the rest to the professionals. You should also give your daughter a chance to learn, right? Otherwise, how will I ever manage to inherit such a vast family fortune? At the mention of me inheriting the family fortune, Dad turned his face away, his expression clearly displeased. He didn't realize that every bit of it was clearly reflected in the floor-to-ceiling window. If it weren't for the major projects that kept him tied up in recent years, Dad would have started a company to promote Junyoung when he wanted to enter the entertainment industry. This was something Junyoung boasted about in front of me in my past life. Although I was his daughter in name, I never received anything substantial. He always had the best of everything growing up, from what he used to what he ate, from kindergarten through middle school. I attended public schools while he went to elite private schools. The money I spent in my entire life didn't even amount to what he spent in a single semester. He said that from childhood, Dad treated him and me as differently as heaven and earth. Though I knew he was just trying to provoke me out of spite, his words still cut deep. Dad said those elite schools would spoil a child. He wanted me to have good character and didn't want me to turn into a delinquent. I thought he had my best interests at heart, but it was actually a perfect lie. That very night, I saw the stark difference. For myself, Dad transferred me $100 million and told me to support Junyoung wholeheartedly. This kid looks promising to me, destined for the top tier. We'll rely on him to make our company famous. From start to finish, his focus was on promoting Junyoung. He never once considered how I, as the boss, should be thinking about growing the company. 100 million, because of Junyoung. Dad transferred it to me without hesitation. Is this still the same person who said that even if you have money, you can't spend it recklessly? It turns out that all the fatherly love I thought I had, the happiness I believed in, were all illusions. I replied with a bitter smile, don't worry, Dad, I'm already an adult, and it's time for me to contribute to the family. I definitely won't let you down. I will definitely make you and your illegitimate child experience the despair my mother and I felt in our past life. Back in my room, I stared at the notification for the 100 million yuan deposit, unable to calm down for a long time. In my previous life, after my mother passed away, my father brought his mistress and Junyoung home. He announced to the outside world. Back then, he and Junyoung's mother, Nan Bin-gru, were the true couple. My mother and he had me by accident after drinking, and my mother used her heart condition to force him to give up his true love and marry her. Now that my mother is dead, everything should return to normal. I became the illegitimate daughter. Junyoung often insinuates on social media that I have improper conduct and harbor inappropriate feelings for him, my own brother. I am subjected to insults, labeled with all sorts of tags, and whenever I go out, people throw eggs at me. A photo of me, disheveled and lying on Junyoung, was circulated. I was thrown out of the house. My father said I was shameless and had no sense of decency, that I had actually seduced my own brother. I didn't deserve to spend his money, so he took away all my cards and cash, leaving me penniless and with nowhere to go. That night, Junyoung brought a group of men in black who broke my legs and threw me to the beggars. I died with hatred in my heart. Linger, Mom's gentle voice came from the doorway. She stood at the entrance. May I come in? Mom was always so gentle and considerate. Seeing Mom's tenderness, the tears I had held back all night finally spilled uncontrollably. Seeing me shed tears, my mother anxiously walked in and hugged me. My dear, what's wrong? On such a beautiful day as your 18th birthday, why are you dropping golden tears? Tell me what's troubling you. I nestled into her chest, sobbing. Mom, I just realized I've suddenly grown up, and it makes me a little sad. What's there to be sad about? In my eyes, you'll always be a child. You can always act spoiled with me, and you can always come to me for anything. Don't worry about feeling embarrassed to turn to me just because you're an adult. My mother's voice was as gentle as ever. I hugged her and said, Mom, I'll help you find a heart donor, so you can stay with me forever, okay? She patted my back gently, just like when she used to soothe me to sleep as a child. Silly child, your father hasn't found a match in all these years. how could it be so easy to find a suitable heart donor? Hearing this, I began to sob uncontrollably. I wanted so badly to tell my mother that a heart donor had actually been found when I was very young. Junyang told me. His mother didn't want my mother to live long, so she made my father give the donor heart to someone else. After that, they never looked for another donor again. My father promised them that the first half of his life would be for us, and the second half, after my mother passed away, he would stay with them, treat everyone equally. Junyang said those things when he became the best actor just to infuriate my mother, so that their family could reunite sooner. Dad couldn't wait for my mother to die naturally. I didn't continue this topic, afraid that if I said too much, my mother would tell my father and they would notice something unusual. I could search for a heart donor for my mother privately on my own. I spent a fortune to secretly hire someone to find a suitable heart source for me, then registered a company. There are just over 2 months left before starting university, and I plan to sign Junyang before the winter break. In this life, I want to keep him under my control. My assistant quickly arranged a meeting with Junyang. No doubt my father had given him a heads up. In the coffee shop, we sat facing each other. When he saw the dress I was wearing, the muscles on his face twitched uncontrollably. This beautiful dress was a limited edition from an international luxury brand, with only one piece sold in each country, and it was Junyang's favorite brand. I bought it specifically to see him. Seeing his reaction, I knew his beliefs were beginning to waver. He knew that everything he had heard about how Dad treated me was just hearsay. How is it in reality? I can weave him a version where Dad loves me to the bone, making it stick in his throat, keeping him awake all night, making him fear being abandoned by Dad, unable to eat or sleep in peace. He is an illegitimate child who cannot see the light of day. I stir my coffee cup, my newly done manicure sparkling brightly. My assistant takes out the drafted contract. These are the terms offered by our company. Please review. He didn't bring his agent, only a rather dull-witted little assistant, who clumsily flipped through the contract. According to the contract, our company will cover all of Mr. Junyang's penalty fees. During the period when Mr. Junyang signs the contract with us, our company will provide him with a top-tier standalone villa, arrange a dedicated housekeeper to take care of his meals and accommodation, and ensure that all his living, dining, and transportation needs are met with the highest standard of arrangements. Compensation will be settled on a project basis, with payment issued on the 10th of the second month following the completion of each project. The split is 60% for Junyang and 40% for the company. During the contract period, we hope to maintain a certain image in the public eye. If Junyang causes losses to the company due to personal issues, the company will not pay any compensation and will use it to cover all economic losses incurred. The assistant finished summarizing the contract and looked at the still somewhat stunned junior assistant. Junyang was just a minor, barely known celebrity. For someone like him to receive such a contract, she felt overwhelmed. She carefully read through the contract again and again, trying to spot any hidden clauses. After searching for a long time, she looked at Junyang and said, "The contract is fine, and the terms are quite good." When she said, "quite good," I saw her swallow hard. Big celebrity agencies don't provide accommodation, but our company not only provides it, but also offers the most luxurious villa. I even wrote the villa's address in the contract. This was something I specifically asked my dear dad for 3 billion to buy yesterday. I said I wanted to buy a villa for Junyang to live in, to enhance her sense of belonging and image. I was quite vague in my explanation. Dad thought it was going to be registered under Junyang's name, so he gave it to me without hesitation, but throughout the whole process, I only said I bought it for him to live in. I never mentioned transferring the ownership to him. In my previous life, the villa was indeed registered under Junyang's name. Dad justified it as a convenient way to promote the property, a means to retain a future top-tier talent like Junyang by giving him a house, and a rational way to transfer assets to him. Junyang looked at the villa's name and address on the contract, a flicker of envy crossing his handsome face. I spoke up at just the right moment. "This is my dad's 18th birthday gift to me. I hope Mr. Junyang enjoys living here." I laughed carelessly, like a little princess who knew nothing of the world. My dad said he'd give me anything I wanted. I didn't know what to buy, so I bought this villa. These words were originally spoken by Junyang in my past life. Now, he still has nothing. Dad was thinking of giving him the family assets under more reasonable pretexts, like offering a villa as an employee benefit or paying him a high endorsement fee, so that Junyang's acquisition of assets wouldn't be criticized. To be safe, neither of them underwent a paternity test, fearing it would leave evidence of infidelity. This was the villa Junyang had been longing for years, now registered under my name. His forced smile gradually faded. eventually twisting into something distorted. Watching him doubt the father who loved him most, I was overjoyed, my smile growing even brighter. Mr. Junyoung, don't you like it? If not, we can change it. My father loves me very much. Whatever I want, he gives me. He says I'm his only little princess. I laughed carelessly. His assistant looked at him, puzzled. Such a fine house. Why wasn't he happy? Living in a place like this would be great for promoting his image later on. Will you sign? The assistant asked softly. If Mr. Junyoung hasn't made up his mind yet, that's fine. We can discuss it again after our company has achieved some results. I tossed an elegant business card onto the table. We have another artist to sign today, so we won't disturb Mr. Junyoung any further. The assistant didn't expect us to be signing someone else today and instinctively asked, who else are you signing? Juin. The assistant answered truthfully. Hearing the name, Junyoung suddenly lifted his eyelids to look at me. I pretended not to notice, grabbing the latest luxury handbag and preparing to leave. Juin is currently unknown. In the future, she will become a film queen, winning numerous awards effortlessly. She has just participated in a talent show and hasn't signed with any company yet. Her appearance isn't particularly stunning, but her extraordinary acting talent, combined with makeup, has allowed her to create many classic roles in a short time. As I was leaving, I turned back to advise Junyoung, the first artist to sign with our company will get to live in my 300 million villa. The first person to sign with us will be our key focus for development. My dad said Juin looks promising, and I trust my dad's judgment. After saying that, she took her assistant and left. I knew that Junyoung wouldn't sign directly today, no matter what his mindset was. He wouldn't sign with me today. He detested me, although he tried hard to hide his emotions. Junyoung at 17 was ultimately not skilled enough in acting. Saying my father values Juin is pure fabrication. Before, to keep me from noticing anything unusual, he would often mention more people, but aside from Junyoung, he never really cared about any of them. This apartment, I only gave it to Juin to live in to spite Junyoung. Of course, it was also a good opportunity to increase my own assets. If I wanted my father to spend money, I had to pretend it was for Junyoung. The villa is under my name, and it will be my asset in the future. My assets don't belong to my father. Even if he dies, they won't go to any illegitimate children. Watching the two of them leave, the assistant asked Junyoung, the terms offered by this company are pretty good, and they seem financially solid. Why didn't you sign? Because he was criticized as effeminate and a fake man. Junyoung had no good resources at the company. Junyoung didn't say a word. His beautiful face was devoid of any radiance, his brows furrowed tightly. He sent a message to the contact saved as, Dad, did you arrange for me to live in this house? He took a photo of the address on the contract. The reply came quickly. How is it? Do you like it, son? This is the best villa. I spent 300 million just so my son could live a little better. Junyoung's forehead veins bulged. On the verge of an angry outburst, letting him live in a house under another woman's name. Wasn't that just humiliating him? Remembering what Chu Jungwon had said, that he would wait until they were officially father and son before giving him anything, he held back. For the first time, he began to doubt his father's love. His father had said that the daughter in the family hadn't cost any money, that all the money was saved for him, and that from childhood to adulthood, he was the only one who had ever spent a dime. Chu Ling's outfit today cost several million, a villa worth 3 billion, and she also has a company. He didn't dare to think about it. If this isn't love, then what is? Thinking about the 3 billion given to Chu Ling, he couldn't help but want to give her a beating, and when he thought of Chu Ling's radiant smile, it felt even more glaring to him. She's really too much of an eyesore. Another message came through over there. Son, have you signed yet? I've always wanted to start a company to promote you, but I never found the right way. Now, using Chu Ling's name, I can invest money without anyone noticing anything unusual. Son, Dad will definitely make you the most dazzling star. Although Dad says he loves him the most, he's already 17 and still doesn't have a proper father-son relationship. But he can't say that to Chu Jungwon. He can't afford to gamble. He replied irritably, Thanks, Dad, I'll sign in a couple of days. I need to sort things out with the people at my current company first. Following his mother's instructions, he was doing his best to play the role of a sensible son. That way, his father would feel even more indebted to him. Once the guilt piled up to the point where even his father couldn't wait any longer, that would be his chance to officially become the eldest son of the wealthiest family. Okay, son, Dad is in a meeting. If you need anything, just let me know. Seeing that Junyoung wasn't responding to her, the assistant reminded him again, hoping he would sign the contract quickly. If they sign Juin first and let her stay in this villa, we'll lose a great promotional angle. Renting such a villa for a month would cost hundreds of thousands. She couldn't understand why Junyang was being so difficult. She won't let her stay there. This house was bought for him. Junyang is very confident. Juin's contract is the same as Junyang's, add one clause. Juin will be paid a monthly salary of 100,000. With a contract term of 15 years, Juin thinks she's getting a good deal, but in reality, I'm the one making a killing. In her previous life, she could have bought her own luxury home in at most 2 years. Really, Juin was overjoyed. Recently, she had been participating in a variety show, and there had been a lot of discussion about her appearance. Many said that if only she were a bit prettier, she would have a better chance. She had talent in performance, but with her current looks, it was truly difficult for her to become a big hit. Very few were willing to sign her, and even fewer offered favorable terms. This contract was something she wouldn't have dared to dream of. Are you going to sign? The assistant wasn't sure why I was so determined to sign Juin, but before I came, I had given her a strict order. We must sign her today. If the terms are not satisfactory, we can discuss further. Satisfactory, satisfactory. This is the second reason I chose Juin first and foremost. She is an honest person. Even after becoming famous, she remains a good person, never flattering the high and mighty or trampling on the lowly, and never harming others. Praising her won't lead to being bitten back. Satisfied? Then let's sign the contract now. 2 hours later, the official account of Chu Ling Entertainment posted its first update. Welcome Juin to Chu Ling Entertainment, and welcome to Villa 888 at Yunshui Manor. The accompanying image was a photo of Juin when Juin was just Juin. She didn't stand out, but when she portrayed a character, she did it so vividly, and with the added advantage of a luxurious mansion, she made it to the trending list in less than 2 hours. The epitome of a wealthy socialite. This is exactly why I want to be a wealthy socialite. I'm so envious. What kind of magical company is this, actually offering a 300 million mansion for artists to live in for free? Even though I know this is just Chu Ling Media promoting themselves, I still can't help but feel envious. Does Chu Ling Media need someone to clean? I'm really good at sweeping. This must be fake. How could something so outrageous happen? It's probably just for show. Look how excited everyone is getting. Let's just move on. Upstairs, the contract has been released. This house is written into the contract. As long as Juin doesn't move out, she can live here for a lifetime. A company like this is like a dream. I'd work there for free. Oh my god. The company actually included such an outrageous clause, aren't they? Afraid Juin might really never leave. She's just a nobody, a minor character. What kind of judgment does the boss have? If she can become famous, I could be a film queen. I lay on the sofa in the courtyard, lazily basking in the sun while reading the comments. Half an hour ago, because of this set of photos, Juin received an audition opportunity from the most demanding director in the industry. In my previous life, it took the director half a year to finally decide on Juin. This time, I made sure the director saw Juin earlier. He personally called, insisting that Juin must go for an audition. His excitement was impossible to hide, evident in every word he spoke. On my phone, I finally received the call from my father. I pinched myself hard, gathered my emotions, and answered the video call. His furious voice came through. Linger, didn't you say the house was for Junyang to live in? Why is that Juin person staying there? He wanted to say something more, but my tears began to fall, drop by drop, accompanied by sobs, making my words come out broken and disjointed. Dad, Junyang won't sign it. I thought such a nice house shouldn't go to waste, so I gave it to Juin. She's really ambitious. With just a few photos taken at the villa, she caught the eye of Director Shui. As soon as she collaborates with Director Shui, she'll become a top-tier star right away. She'll definitely make a lot of money for the company then. I did all this just to make you happy, Dad, aren't you? Happy? Can he say he's not happy? Of course not. Wouldn't that ruin the persona he's built up all these years? Even those who don't follow the entertainment industry know how formidable Director Shui is, and because of Junyang, he understands the weight that the name, Director Shui, carries. He has always wanted to connect Junyang with Director Shui, but unfortunately, Director Shui doesn't lack money, so his money power doesn't work. As he weighed his thoughts, I continued, Dad, the contract has already been posted online. This house can only be for Juin to live in now. You said before that she was very promising and had a bright future. Have you forgotten, Dad? Dad's judgment is truly remarkable. With such good judgment from Dad, if Junyang were willing to sign, he must have great potential too. Hearing my flattery, the corners of Dad's mouth lifted. He thought I had signed Juin because of him. Feeling that everything was back under his control, and his expression improved. Significantly, if Junyang signs the contract, then get him a villa as well. After a moment's thought, he added, they're both artists under the company, we can't show favoritism. His attempt to cover up the obvious was just ridiculous, but of course I'd play along. It was exactly what I had planned anyway. Alright, whatever you say, Dad. If Junyang agrees, how about we buy the one next to 888, number 666? He agreed without a second thought. In his previous life, he meticulously used the company's name to buy a house for his illegitimate child. Now that he can't do it directly, he's still quite happy to let his illegitimate child live in a nice house. In his eyes, I am just his obedient, well-behaved daughter. Everything I have now, he can easily take back later and give to his son. The next day, Junyang's assistant called, asking my assistant to go over and help them handle the breach of contract penalty. I went along to watch the show. Last night, Dad transferred another 5 billion to me. No, 666 only had a little over 2 billion, so I told him I wanted to buy some antiques for Junyang to make the house look more luxurious. Since antiques are very expensive, he gave it to me without hesitation. He's really generous when it comes to his own son. I had people find a batch of high-quality replicas overnight and placed them in the villa. I also bought the genuine items and sent the invoices and photos of the real antiques to my dad. He can't openly go to the villa to check their authenticity, and Junyang doesn't have the ability to identify antiques. I'm not worried they can tell it's fake. I immediately sold the items and deposited the money into a newly opened bank account under my name. When I saw Junyang, he had lost the arrogance from his previous life, with dark circles under his eyes. Clearly, he hadn't been sleeping well today. I wore another limited edition dress and carried a new limited edition bag, head to toe in Junyang's favorite brands. Watching his brows furrow so tightly they could crush a fly, I asked with a smile, still haven't made up your mind? You can sign with Chu Ling Entertainment after you've decided. As long as my father is around, we won't go bankrupt. I deliberately named the company after myself, just to disgust him. As a bastard, he has to live under the shadow of me, the legitimate child. How suffocating that must be. The love he once believed in is beginning to crumble, and he is no longer so certain whether his father truly loves him. In this day and age, very few people still favor sons over daughters. Perhaps his father was just putting on an act in front of him, all to avoid disrupting his original family. He hasn't made a name for himself yet, and his mother has never worked a day in her life. They still rely on my father, so until he can stand on his own, he wouldn't dare test his father. My father's affection for my mother is in the sunlight. For them, only the dark corners exist. Watching the change in his expression, I felt quite pleased and took out the chocolates that had been air-shipped over, starting to eat them. This, too, was proof of the love my father gave me. He said he had never eaten them before, so I could eat as much as I wanted. Watching his face gradually turn pale, I handed him a piece of chocolate. Are you hypoglycemic? Why is your face so pale? My dad specially airmailed this from abroad for me. It's really helpful for low blood sugar, although I don't have hypoglycemia. My dad still wants to give me the best. I spoke very naturally. As if treating him like a complete stranger, he held the chocolate, not even realizing he had crushed it in his hand. While his heart ached, mine was no less tormented. My dad had indeed never bought me this kind of chocolate before. This chocolate required special customization, and I had ordered it myself only after being reborn. When the contract was signed, Junyang looked as if all his vitality had been drained. The assistant brought a photographer to take a set of photos of Junyang, which were then sent to Chuling Entertainment as usual. Junyang's photos were stunning, but what drew more attention was the fact that Chuling Entertainment actually provided each artist with a private villa. Previously, when Juin received one, people thought it was just a gimmick, but with 2 artists now, it seemed almost unbelievable. My identity was exposed, and when everyone found out I was the only daughter of the wealthiest man, doted on by him, they all said, let's just drop it. I used the official account of Chu Ling Entertainment, especially like the comment about the only daughter most doted on by the wealthiest man, and pinned a reply, thank you, Mom and Dad, for doting on me all these years. I will definitely make Chu Ling Entertainment bigger and stronger. At the same time, I tagged my dad's company and my parents' personal accounts. I want everyone in the world to know that Chu Jiangwen has only one daughter and only my mom as his wife. This wave of advertising also had a direct impact on my dad's company, with the stock price soaring. so, after learning what I had done, he only tactfully suggested that I shouldn't be so high profile in the future. Daddy, I love you, and I want everyone to know I love you, to let everyone know you're the best dad. It's only when the illegitimate child is exposed later that it becomes truly explosive. Isn't everything great now? Daddy's company stock is rising, and your daughter can finally help you, no longer a burden. I'm so happy. I built him up so high he couldn't refute me. You're my only daughter. Who else would I love if not you? I know Daddy is the best. Juin has already passed the audition and joined director Shue's crew. She'll soon rise to even greater heights. Today, the champion of the most beautiful voice, Plum Blossom, wants to join us. She is a highly valuable singer, and she's drawn to our current momentum and the fact that the company's financial backer is Dad. Should we sign her? If we sign her, we'll have to buy a house. As he said himself, we can't show favoritism. Dad's smile froze on his face. I sniffled, looking on the verge of tears. Dad, it's fine, I'll just tell her that my dad is temporarily facing financial difficulties, and we can collaborate in the future. My dad is a man who values his reputation. As the richest man, how could he be said to have financial difficulties? Dad, don't worry about it. I'm already content with having two promising stars with limitless futures. I can always find new artists once I make more money. Even as she said this, tears threatened to fall. It's such a shame about Plum Blossom. She's such a talented singer. She only felt at ease with me because I'm a female boss, the person in the video side, and eventually transferred $3 billion to me. Getting money from a celebrity to buy a house is no longer an option, so I seized the moment and said, Dad, for the sake of convenience at work, I'd also like to buy a house here. That no, 999 looks pretty good to me. Yunshui Villa no, 999 is under my father's name. He bought it to retire with his mistress. My mother doesn't even know about this house. If it weren't for Junyang's bragging, I wouldn't have known either. It turns out Dad has been preparing for years to live with those two. The interior is decorated with top-tier fittings. Fortunately, he was afraid of being discovered with a mistress, so only his name is on the property deed. I'll have the property management inquire tomorrow whether the owner of that apartment is willing to sell. The security guard said that after the unit was purchased, handed over, and renovated, it has been left vacant for 10 years without anyone living in it. Watching his expression grow increasingly unpleasant, I pressed on. The security guard mentioned that the owner is likely living abroad, otherwise, they wouldn't have been absent for 10 whole years. Dad, you could gift me a place of my own to live in, right? It wouldn't be good for me to keep staying at home and disturbing you and Mom's life. I'm all grown up now. He opened his mouth, then closed it, his face turning an even deeper shade of displeasure before he finally replied, Linger, living at home is perfectly fine. Your mother isn't in the best health, and having you at home puts my mind at ease. How laughable, with maids and servants at home. Such an excuse was utterly feeble. I chose not to respond. Dad, I'll go rent that apartment then. I'm running my own company now. I'm the boss. Can't let my employees outdo me in housing, right? The courtyard's renovation is truly beautiful. Once I earn enough money myself, I'll buy my own place. I can't keep relying on my parents forever. Hearing that I wanted to rent a place on my own, he immediately panicked. If I found out the property owner was him, all these years of playing the loving father and devoted husband would have been for nothing. My dear daughter, how could I let you rent a place? You're the daughter of the wealthiest man in town. Renting would make people think poorly of your father. I'll have my assistant handle this apartment for you. He'll negotiate the price. The 999th unit is very expensive. I don't want you to get shortchanged. Thank you, Dad. I'll pay you back once I earn the money. After saying this, he felt too embarrassed to put my name on the property deed as a gift. Dad, I love you. You really are the best father in the world. Being your daughter is the happiest thing in my life. I kept praising him, acting, who can't do it as long as you don't take it to heart. When I got the property deed for Villa No. 999, I deliberately swung by Junyang's place with the newly signed singer, Plum Blossom. Boss, your dad really loves you so much. He bought you all the best villas in the community. Number 999 is worth $1 billion. When can I be reborn into such a good life? Mei Hua is a singer with no celebrity airs, lively and outgoing. She kept chattering in front of Junyang. Can I have that villa all to myself? I flicked her forehead. Of course, my dad paid for it, so you can live there as you please. But remember, you have to release at least 2 chart-topping songs a year, or I'll find you 2 roommates. 2 songs, easy peasy. She is a singer-songwriter with considerable talent, but a bit lazy and afraid of industry exploitation. seeing that I am a female boss. The contract has no harsh conditions, and there is a villa here where she can just relax. She proactively sought to sign with me. Juanyang's face darkened as he looked at us with displeasure. Meihua turned her head and was startled by his expression. She quickly explained, I just couldn't help myself. You two talk first. I recruited the most famous agent in the industry for Junyang, someone who appears impressive now but will face a major scandal in a year. She said Junyang hasn't been wanting to take on any roles lately. I know he's just throwing a little tantrum, and I'm actually quite happy about it. The more he slacks off, the better it is for me, but as a normal boss, when an employee is clearly slacking off, I definitely have to pretend to show some concern, otherwise, it would look suspicious. I casually placed the red booklet on the high table, leaned lazily against it, and finally looked at Junyang unhurriedly. I heard you haven't had time to film recently. May I ask what you've been busy with lately? He replied matter-of-factly. I plan to accompany my parents abroad for half a year, travel together and see the world. I'll come back to take on roles after that. Aren't you going to college? I remember in my previous life, Junyang did attend university. Could it be that he's been too deeply affected this time around? In the next 6 months, my father will send me abroad to study with a master performer for a few months. Becoming a master's disciple holds more value than a university education. It seems he's planning to find a way to spend my father's money, trying to balance his unwilling heart to compete with me. He's even giving up on college. His mind isn't all that sharp, is it? Or perhaps, when someone desires too much that doesn't belong to them, their judgment becomes clouded. Is your father working abroad? I was very serious. This was important to me. I had always wanted to find an opportunity to get my mother a heart transplant, and I couldn't let my father know. If he were to go abroad, things would be much simpler. Hearing this question, a proud smile spread across his face. My dad said that for the sake of my better development, he'll accompany my mother and me to stay abroad for half a year. He'll also work at the overseas branch for half a year. For my career, he'll do everything he can to help me. I also flashed a bright smile. You're so lucky to have a father like that. There's no rush on my end. You can study abroad for 1 or 2 years, no problem. Study hard. And when you come back, I'll find you a great script that will make you soar to the sky, and then come crashing back down. He didn't see any jealousy in my eyes, and a flash of hatred crossed his face. To pretend I didn't know his identity, I generously offered, if you want to take on roles abroad, the company can arrange it. I'll send a few people overseas to provide you with close, personal service. He definitely wouldn't agree. If he did, wouldn't that expose the fact that he's an illegitimate child? He firmly refused. It's fine, I'll just take on roles domestically after I finish my studies. Alright, I'll be living at No. 999 from now on. When you come back, you can find me at No. 999. I opened the property deed and let him clearly see the name on it. Chu Ling, 100% ownership of this property. This is a fucking retirement home. With a crack, Junyang actually crushed the cup in his hand. Plum Blossom asked excitedly. You also think the boss's dad loves her too much, right? This is a billion-dollar villa, the most expensive villa in the whole city. I just looked at the decoration, the layout, the design, all the work of world-class masters. In my next life, I want to be reborn into such a good family too. Looking at the excited Plum Blossom, I really wanted to say, it's best not to be reborn into such a family. You might die with your eyes wide open. Juanyang's assistant quickly brought over the first aid kit. Lately, she had been a bit afraid to get too close to Junyang. The once gentle and refined man had recently become strangely temperamental. Frighteningly so. She kept a wide distance between herself and Junyang as she cleaned and bandaged his wound. The play was over, and I left with Plum Blossom. When I returned home in the evening, Dad was sitting on the sofa. He looked at me as if he wanted to say something but held back. I knew Junyang must have said something to him again, and maybe even the mistress had spoken to him too, but what could he do? He could only swallow his broken teeth and keep it all inside. Mom was busy in the kitchen with the auntie, both of them chatting and laughing. Hearing Mom's laughter, I truly wished she would never have to know the truth, but if Junyang wants to rise to power, it's impossible for him not to know. The top priority now is to find a suitable heart source for my mother. I increased the reward on my phone, expanding the search for a heart source from domestic to international, as long as it's suitable. It doesn't matter which country the donor is from. The antiques I've been reselling have also brought me close to 300 million. Finding a suitable heart for my mother and covering her rehabilitation will be more than enough. During the meal, Dad, who usually served Mom food, kept his head down and ate in silence, hesitating several times as if wanting to speak. Just as Mom was about to clear the dishes, he finally spoke. "There's been some trouble at the overseas branch recently. I need to go abroad for 6 months to a year to resolve it." Hearing his words, Mom showed no displeasure. She smiled gently and replied, "Go ahead, I'll take care of things at home. Linger has grown up now. She's about to start university and plans to open her own company, so she'll be busy too." Mom's gentle understanding brought a flicker of guilt to Dad's face, though it lasted only a second. I lowered my head to drink water, hearing Dad ask me, "What about Linger? If you don't want Dad to leave, we can forget about the overseas branch. My precious daughter is still the most important." Even though he had already made arrangements with them, he was still pretending here. I raised a smile and said, "Dad, your career is the most important." Mom was right. "I'm very busy now too. Even if you were home, I might not come back much. It's so hard to build up an overseas company. We definitely can't give up on it. I'll wait for you to come back in Haicheng." The next day, Dad left with his luggage. That same day, I saw Juanyang's photo of a plane ticket on his social media account. It was the same flight as my dad's. I was surprised they didn't even take separate flights. I pretended not to notice the corner of Juanyang's photo, where Dad's hand was pushing a suitcase. Although it was heartbreaking, I had already experienced even greater sorrow in my previous life, so this time I could face it calmly. Money makes things easier. On the 3rd day after my scumbag dad left, I received news of a suitable heart donor. Should have been overjoyed. What a coincidence. The person is in the same country where my scumbag dad and his mistress are. If we run into my scumbag dad, his mistress, and their family of 3, wouldn't Mom be in great danger? I paced around the living room, unable to make up my mind. Mom came and sat down behind me. "Linger, you've been pacing for almost an hour. Is something wrong?" "Mom, I've found a suitable heart donor, but unfortunately, the person is in country W. I'm thinking about whether to take you there for the surgery. Your health might not be able to handle the long journey." Mom let out a sigh. "Child, have you found out something?" The phone in my hand nearly slipped to the floor. After a moment of fumbling, I managed to steady it. "Mom, what are you talking about? What do I know? It's not because of the exhausting journey, but because your father is in country W, isn't it?" My mind went completely blank. "Mom, you mean, you know." I didn't dare finish the sentence, afraid we might not be talking about the same thing. "Your father had an affair because I didn't give him a son," she said it so calmly, so terrifyingly calm. "So in my past life, Mom didn't die because she found out about the other woman." She gently took my hand and had me sit beside her. How could I not know when my own husband carried the scent of another woman's perfume, the smell of milk? With my weak constitution, I'm even more sensitive to smells. I was afraid my little Linger couldn't handle it, and I didn't dare risk having a son, only for my little Linger to possibly lose her mother. So everything Mom did was for me. In my past life, it was because I inexplicably became an illegitimate child, and she worried herself to death over me. In that moment, tears streamed down my face as if I were the real culprit who had caused my mother's death in my previous life. At this moment, my defenses crumbled. "Because of a mother's love, Mom, you've suffered so much." I cried uncontrollably, and Mom held me carefully. "It's Mom's fault. Because of me, Linger has been wronged. It seems Mom has noticed my recent unusual behavior. In the past, I wanted to be a happy freeloader, but now I am single-mindedly focused on squeezing money out of Dad's pockets. So far, I've already managed to squeeze out over 2 billion, which is somewhat effective. Fortunately, Dad has been feeling guilty and hasn't noticed my abnormality. Since Mom already knows, then all these years she has been living strong, just so I could have a mother." Thinking of this, my tears once again uncontrollably fell. "For Linger, Mom will also be strong. Don't worry that Mom will be sad. What makes Mom saddest is if Linger had no mother, if she were bullied. For Linger, Mom will definitely be strong." Yes, in my past life, without a mother, I met a tragic end. My heart felt as if being pricked by countless needles. I held my mother and cried for a long time before finally calming down. The person on the other end of the phone called again. "Miss Chu, if you still want the heart source, you must come to country W immediately. The patient can only live for 2 or 3 days at most. We will fly to country W right away. Please arrange for the best doctors for us." Money is no object for the patient. The patient had 4 children and, thinking of securing the greatest benefits for them before passing away, decided to donate everything that could be donated. The laws of country W have a humanitarian provision. If a patient is truly beyond cure and nearing death, and the family is in dire financial straits, they can sign an agreement with a legitimate hospital to donate their body. In return, the family receives a corresponding subsidy, ensuring that surviving family members, such as children, have the means to grow up smoothly. The subsidy is provided by the beneficiary, and all procedures must be formalized through signed documents and follow legal processes. Whether due to the physical condition of the other party or the legal requirements, both my mother and I need to go to Country W in person to complete the formalities. Worried about my mother's health, I arranged for 2 doctors to accompany us, bringing ample medication and medical equipment to handle any emergencies. My mother thought I was overreacting, unaware of how deeply I feared she might end up like in my previous life, dying with her eyes wide open, filled with regret. This time, I kissed my mother, determined to live well until the very end. Worried that my mother might be unwell, I booked an early ticket and arrived in Country W by evening. We checked into a hotel first, and the next day, we went straight to the hospital to sign the agreement and make the payment. I'm sorry, but the patient was already donated to someone else last night. I just found out myself. The young girl was on the verge of tears. This was a suitable match she had worked so hard to find, and her tuition for the next semester depended on me. An indescribable sense of loss washed over me. We have to sign the contract and follow the procedure first. There's no option for a deposit reservation. I felt all my strength drain away, nearly collapsing to the floor. My mother, quick as ever, caught me. I'm doing fine now, and I can hold on for a few more years. I've been taking good care of my health all this time. My mother's comforting words only made me feel worse. If my father hadn't had an affair or a secret child, she wouldn't have had to suffer so much over the years. Just as I was wondering what to do next, the young girl muttered a complaint. How despicable, using a real heart for a performance class. Shouldn't they use a simulated one instead? It's just sick, competing with patients for something like this, turning a matter of life and death into a game, all because they have a bit of money. How outrageous. The little girl clenched her fists tightly. Anger spilled over from my face. My entire body turned ice cold. I tilted my head to look at Mom. If she knew Dad had been unfaithful long ago, then she might also know that Junyoung was the illegitimate child. Thinking about how I had been discussing the illegitimate child with Dad all this time, how much pain Mom must have been in, a wave of immense regret surged within me. Surprisingly, Mom remained extraordinarily calm, not even a single frown on her brow. My heart ached, and at the same time, I felt utterly hopeless. During the times I thought were happy, how much grievance did my mother endure to be able to appear so calm now? For the sake of her child's happiness, she acted out a picture of happiness. For my mother, I was filled with guilt. Mom, I said, my heart aching to the extreme, I've held you back, silly child. Without you, your mother might have been gone long ago. It was you who gave your mother a happy life, who gave her something to cherish in this world. Her voice was as gentle as ever, but I could feel her body trembling slightly as she held me. I wanted to take my mother back to the hotel and then return alone to negotiate with the patient, but she refused. Let's go together. In this lifetime, your mother is already content just to see you happy. Now that Linger knows how to seek her own well-being and protect herself, your mother can leave with peace of mind. My heart was gripped with pain. The happy family I thought I had was completely shattered in this moment. How much suffering had my mother endured all these years? She had forced herself to perform happiness just to make me happy. Since my mother disagreed, I could only follow her to find the patient. Unexpectedly, we ran into Junyoung and his mother. They were waiting for the elevator with their backs turned to us. Fortunately, I'd been keeping an eye on the heart donor situation all along, which allowed me to intercept her heart source. That old thing, how come he hasn't died after living all these years? The little girl widened her eyes in disbelief, looking toward the 2 people at the elevator entrance. Since everyone here speaks the language of Country W, they didn't hold back at all. When using their native tongue, I really wanted to go over and kick that damn illegitimate son, but Mom couldn't handle the stress. I pulled Mom forward, not wanting to cause any more trouble, but I've already taken it to heart, and I'll settle this score along with the rest. Don't let your father know, you just need to be a good son, the woman said calmly, as if Junyoung had done something trivial. In front of him, you must appear kind enough for him to feel at ease leaving the family fortune to you. If your father decides to start over with a new heir, we'll end up with nothing. Fine, Junyoung replied reluctantly. I'm already doing my best to play the part of a good son. Once I get the family fortune, I'll deal with them. Mom swayed unsteadily, and I quickly reached out to support her. If it weren't for the fact that illegitimate children have inheritance rights and my mother didn't want my things to be divided, she definitely wouldn't have been able to tolerate it. Once again, I deeply felt how heavy my mother's love was. The elevator doors opened, and the two of them stepped inside. We also happened to enter the patient's room at that moment. A woman, gaunt and withered, lay on the bed, her sunken eyes filled with deep longing as she gazed at the row of children by her bedside. Mom won't be able to take care of you anymore. You must live well from now on, big brother. Promise me you'll look after your younger siblings. Okay, I've left some money for you, enough to help you grow up. That older brother was only about 10 years old, the youngest just 3, standing in a row by the bedside, looking utterly pitiful. The woman's husband passed away unexpectedly a year ago. She's been running around for her 4 children and fell ill. The little girl whispered softly in my ear, explaining. Hearing this, I found hope. I approached the woman and told her in the language of W country. Madam, hello, I am the only daughter of the wealthiest person in H country. My mother's heart matches yours. As long as you agree to give your heart to my mother, I can sign an agreement to ensure your 4 children receive the best education and care until they graduate from university. The woman on the bed sat up excitedly, trembling as she replied to me in the language of W country. Is what you're saying true? The little girl, seeing the reaction of the person on the bed, immediately took out her student ID. Compared to me, a foreigner from H country, she was a student at a prestigious university in W country, which was much more convincing. Yes, 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 this is the daughter of the wealthiest person in our H country. She's incredibly rich. Her employee dormitories are villas worth billions. Taking care of your 4 children would be a breeze for her. She pulled up the official homepage of Chu Ling Media on her phone. The automatic translation feature made it easy for the woman from W country to understand the content. So you're the owner of Chu Ling Entertainment and also the daughter of that wealthiest person? Yes, you can bring in a notary, and we can draw up a contract. Would you like to consider it, ma'am? Her eyes suddenly dimmed again. I've already promised it to someone else. He offered twice what you did earlier. I agreed for the sake of my child, so they could have a better life. As she spoke, she lowered her head in shame. Ma'am, I understand your concerns. The one offering you double is my husband's illegitimate child. Outside our marriage, he hopes I die so he can seize my daughter's inheritance. I believe you can understand me. I don't want my child to suffer without a mother. My mother's gentle voice calmed the woman. Since I bear a 70% resemblance to my mother, there was no doubt about our relationship. She bit her lip and said, but I've already signed a contract with them. We can make the other party think you gave it to him. He needs this under the pretense of acting class, so whether the heart is a match or not doesn't matter. I can give him a simulated one. Do you want your heart to be discarded like that? If you place it in my mother's chest, your children will still be able to feel your heartbeat in the future. It will give them more strength to carry on. In a way, you'll still be by your children's side, watching them grow up and succeed. After hearing my words, the eldest child grabbed her hand. The young boy, tears welling in his eyes, stubbornly refused to let them fall. Mom, give it to them. I don't want Mom's heart to be treated like an object, used up in a performance class and then thrown away like trash. It would make me sad. It would make me sad for a lifetime. If you could live in another way, we don't need that much money. I will raise my younger siblings. I live for my children, and you live for yours. Let's both keep living. The mother's gentle voice moved the woman. She was already beyond the help of medicine. If she could stay by her children's side, how could she ever be willing to leave? We finally reached an agreement. The woman would sign the consent form for my mother's surgery, and I arranged for my mother to undergo another compatibility test with her. I then called the hospital's external cooperation hotline. Hello, I'd like to donate 50 million worth of medical equipment to your hospital. Upon hearing my words, the hospital quickly sent someone to coordinate with me. Unexpectedly, it was the hospital director who received me. I stated my demands. The hospital must keep it confidential and perform the surgery for my mother, and give Junyang a 100% realistic artificial heart. As long as they agreed, I would donate 50 million worth of medical equipment. Once my mother recovered and was discharged from the hospital, in addition to the medical fees, I would donate another 50 million worth of medical equipment to the hospital. When the hospital director heard that Junyang had actually used a real human heart as a prop for a performance class, he immediately agreed to my demands. He scolded the staff below, but they had only approved the application because the 4 children were truly pitiful and the woman had volunteered. I instructed the director to keep everything confidential. this matter must not be leaked to anyone before I can drain Dad's assets. I can't let him know that Mom is having surgery, otherwise, Mom would be in great danger. They currently assume Mom is going to die. If they find out she won't die after all, there's no telling what they might do. The hospital respected our request, which wasn't unusual. Protecting patient privacy is part of their duty, so everything went smoothly, and the tissue match between Mom and the woman was also very good. Mom was assigned to a top-floor VIP ward with excellent privacy, and the surgery was very successful. The children stayed by Mom's side the whole time, looking at her as if she were their own mother. From now on, you are my children. She gathered them all into her arms, tears streamed down her cheeks. Junyoung, upon receiving the heart, opened the box and, seeing the bloody organ, immediately threw it into the trash. If it hadn't required his personal signature for delivery, he wouldn't have even accepted it. His people confirmed that the international student was still going around asking patients if they were willing to donate their hearts. Knowing that Chu Ling's dying mother was still searching for a heart donor put him in a very good mood. As long as that woman dies, he can become the eldest son of the wealthiest family. If it weren't for her heart condition, he could have returned long ago. If it weren't for his father's reputation and the company's stock, he would have already made his move. Thinking about how all of that will be his in the future, he feels it's nothing to endure a little longer, but the thought of Chu Ling spending so much money makes him uncomfortable, as if it were his own money being wasted. For now, though, he has to listen to his mother, win his father's favor, become the brightest star, and make his father proud. In high spirits, he heads off to the expensive master acting class his father bought for him. I applied to the university for deferred enrollment, since I've already studied the college curriculum in my past life. Completing 4 years' worth of courses in 3 shouldn't be a problem. In the 4th month in country W, Mom insisted on returning home. Your dad might be back in about 2 months. I need to go back first to avoid raising any suspicion. After confirming that Mom had recovered well, I took her and the 4 children back to our home country. As agreed, I also donated 50 million worth of medical equipment to the hospital. According to the examination results, the hospital had put great care into Mom's rehabilitation. She had already reached the recovery level of most people 1 year after surgery. Able to walk briskly normally and even run for short periods, her condition has improved significantly. Compared to before the surgery, with another 6 months of recovery, she'll be able to live like a normal person. To take care of my mother, I brought her to No. 999, along with the 4 children. I enrolled them in an international school, ages 3 to 10, all sent off to school. I arranged for a family doctor and a nanny to care for my mother around the clock. And then I began my own university studies and the plan to drain my father's family assets. After I caught up on the university courses I had missed, it happened that Juin's TV series was airing on the hottest platform. Her outstanding acting skills, combined with director Shue's reputation, instantly made her a sought-after star. That day, I walked into my father's office with my hands clasped behind my back. His secretary warmly poured me a cup of tea. After finishing the tea, I leisurely made my way behind my father's desk, sat down, logged into his work system, approved the endorsement application, printed it out, took the company seal from his desk, and stamped it with a series of crisp thuds. 2 billion yuan was transferred into the account. Miss, did the chairman approve this? The secretary, having read the document clearly, broke out in a cold sweat on his forehead. Is our annual endorsement fee really this high? This isn't for 1 year, it's for 20 years, for the next 20 years. Juin will be the spokesperson for all our Chu family enterprises, and I even got a 50% discount. Friendship price, 20 years. The secretary thought she must have misheard. For 20 years, across all the company's products. It's indeed not expensive, but who signs a contract for 20 years? All right, Dad has already agreed. Look, don't I know the password to his safe and the code for his system? If he hadn't agreed, why would he have given me these passwords? The password was Juanyang's idea, his birthday. It just so happened that I signed a contract with him, so I knew his birthday very well. I have to thank him for always looking for proof that Dad loves him. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to get my hands on 2 billion so easily. Hurry up and push the finance department to transfer the money. I'm still waiting. The secretary glanced at her phone. It was still the middle of the night in country W. The chairman had said that during his time in country W, unless it was a matter of life and death, she shouldn't disturb his sleep at night. Not going, do you not want this job anymore? The secretary quickly made the arrangements, and within half an hour, she received confirmation that the funds had been transferred. As soon as the money arrived, I called my dad. It took a long time for him to answer the phone. "Hey, sweetie, what made you think of calling me?" I pinched myself. "Dad, I made a mistake, or maybe someone from your company made a mistake, but in the end, something went wrong," I sobbed. The secretary beside me widened her eyes. He suppressed his emotions on the other end. "Sweetie, what exactly happened? Tell Daddy, and Daddy will help you solve it. Since Juin has become so popular, I thought I should quickly have him sign endorsements with all of Chu Group's companies. That way, we could lock him in at the lowest price and secure benefits for you, Dad." But as it turned out, the contract changed from 2 years to 20 years, and from 200 million to 20 billion. What? Hearing his sudden outburst, I cried even harder. Juin is definitely going to be an international superstar in the future, based on the rates for international superstars, with Chu Group having hundreds of companies both domestically and internationally. The endorsement fee for 20 years would be at least 200 billion, so we actually made a profit. Dad, please don't be angry. I heard Junyang is studying acting with an international master. When he comes back and signs an endorsement with our company, 20 years would easily be worth 200 billion. Our loss would be huge. Hearing me mention the 200 billion endorsement fee for Junyang, rustling sounds came from the other end. Unsurprisingly, that mistress wanted to secure the 200 billion for her son. This was money obtained openly and honestly. How could she let it slip? That's exactly why I chose to make this call while they were sleeping. All right then, the contract is already signed, and we can't go back on our word. Sweetie, Daddy's going to sleep now. They hung up the phone eagerly, and before the call ended, I heard some indescribable sounds. The secretary first covered her mouth, then her ears. "Miss, I didn't hear anything. Smart people sure make things easy. That settles it then. I'll be off now. If you have any good opportunities, feel free to reach out. My commission starts at 500,000. Just as I was about to step out of the office, he said, "All right, miss, from now on, I'm your dog. Just tell me who to bite, and I'll bite them." His words made me suspect he wanted to bite Junyang. I never thought my father was a fool. He just believed I was under his control, that what was mine was his. In my previous life, he always wanted to give his illegitimate child a rightful share of the assets, handing over tens of billions to Junyang in the name of endorsement fees. I simply helped him do what he wanted, so that his illegitimate child could openly receive the endorsement fees. In the end, he had no choice but to acknowledge Juin's endorsement fees, but she didn't know. I was no longer someone he could control, and I had no intention of giving his illegitimate child a single cent. The endorsement I signed is listed as a Chu Ling media artist, without specifying who exactly. I just let them assume it was Junyang. For instance, this time, I'll have Juin endorse all of the Chu family's products, big and small. I'll make them think what I said aligns with their understanding, then, I'll let them walk right into my trap. Back at the company, I signed a 1-year endorsement deal with Juin and gave her 60 million. After receiving the money, Juin hugged and kissed me for a long time, making me feel full of happiness. As expected, Junyang will be back soon, for the 200 billion I mentioned, and to prevent me from continuing to grow stronger. They won't stay away for long, they'll return as soon as they've successfully gilded themselves. They came back even faster than I thought. My father showed up at my villa the very next day. "Sweetie, let's go ahead and sign that endorsement deal for Junyang that you mentioned. It's most cost-effective for us to do it before he becomes famous." Mom finished arranging the flowers and said gently to us, "If you two need to discuss work, I'll go out for some exercise first." I had already discussed my plan with Mom, and she had no objections. Before Dad could even respond, she had already left the house with the nanny. Once Mom was out the door, I said, "Dad, right now Junyang has no fame at all. If we sign an endorsement deal, the company's shareholders will be unhappy. I've already contacted a major IP project for him to join the cast and gain some experience. In 6 months, when he has built up some reputation, we can sign the deal. That way, it will be more cost-effective, and no one will have any objections." I placed the script of a major IP blockbuster from my previous life in front of my dad, with everything from the director to the cast, the script, and the promotion all being top tier. On the surface, it was a flawless big-budget production, with cameo appearances by industry heavyweights. I had secured the role of the second male lead for Junyang, showing my utmost sincerity. "You got Junyang the second male lead?" Dad was nearly speechless with shock. I lowered my head obediently. "Exactly. Recently, all the money Bamboo Sound and Plum Blossom earned for the company plus every penny Mom and I have, has been poured into this. If there were 2 billion, I could land the male lead role." Hearing about the male lead, his father's eyes lit up. "You can really get the male lead," I nodded eagerly. "You can't spread this around. The director is a disciple of Director Shui, and Director Shui introduced us. Actually, it was in my previous life when the entire film crew collapsed that I found out the director had a preference for men, and all the male actors in the crew had been subjected to his casting couch. The show was highly promoted and popular during its promotional period, but by the time it was released, both the director and all the male actors had completely collapsed, banned from airing. I didn't spend a single penny. I just showed the director Junyang's photo and said, 'Isn't he beautiful? As long as you give him the second male lead role, I can let you hold his hand. Junyang is just too handsome,' so he directly landed the role of the male lead's rival. Meanwhile, my dad is pondering whether spending 2 billion to buy the male lead role is worth it. The director of this drama is a genius, even as the male lead's rival. Junyang can still become a huge hit. Signing endorsements right after the wrap-up is the most cost-effective. Spending 2 billion to buy the male lead role is quite absurd, but seeing my dad's eyes darting around, I know it's probably going to happen." The money arrived that same night. I found a Photoshop expert and had them create a fake transfer screenshot to show my dad. The next day, Junyang returned from abroad. I took the script to him and made it clear, "The director accepted you as the male lead. Money is secondary. It's mainly because he likes you. Don't pick fights with the director just because I spent money to get you the role. That would be a waste of money, and if the director isn't satisfied and kicks you out of the production, you'll have to compensate the company for the 2 billion spent." After receiving the 2 billion transfer from my dad, I also signed a contract with the director, agreeing to pay 2 billion in 6 months if Junyang could be elevated to A-list status. Through this drama, I also noted that during filming, Junyang must comply with all the director's requirements. I showed the contract to Junyang, only blocking the clause about payment being due 6 months after the show's premiere. Taking advantage of the information gap, I threw Junyang and that other artist, whose scandal broke around the same time as the crew's, into the production together. Juyin and Meihua are both very self-disciplined and hardworking. In my remaining time, I focus on studying and keeping my mother company, while constantly finding various excuses to squeeze money and assets from my father. I used to be quite lazy, but lately, I've become incredibly diligent. I signed up for an advanced piano class taught by an international master, a social etiquette course for ladies, and every other expensive class you can think of, all just for show. I successfully managed to pocket 2 billion. I also took up antique restoration. During the process, I accidentally shattered several priceless antiques worth over 1 billion each, which allowed me to squeeze out a few more billion. Then I tried racing cars, got into a chain collision, and wrecked over a dozen luxury vehicles, costing another 7 or 8 billion, spent too much money and gained nothing. I cried in front of my dad for several days. To soothe my wounded heart, he gave me a few 100 million more, hired several promising newcomers, and told me to focus fully on developing my career, mainly to keep me busy so I wouldn't have time to mess with him anymore. Just one day before the Junyang film crew wrapped up shooting, as I was thinking about how to bring up the endorsement deal, my dad came to find me. "My dear daughter, Junyang's film crew is about to wrap up tomorrow, so the endorsement deal can be signed now." I slightly curved my lips. "How many years does Dad want to sign for? Is it an exclusive or a sole endorsement? Have you discussed it with Junyang? What's his opinion?" After speaking, I added, "I'll call him and his agent over now to discuss it together." "It's already been discussed. A lifetime exclusive endorsement." I rolled my eyes inwardly. Lifetime contract. How eager he was to throw money at his illegitimate child. "Too bad it's all mine now." "All right, whatever Dad has arranged is fine. I'll follow your lead completely." I didn't even ask for the exact amount, just had my assistant and Dad's secretary fill out the contract. When I saw the final figure, I was stunned. 30 billion. Ever since my rebirth, I've worked tirelessly for a whole year, performing day in and day out, just to accumulate a little over 6 billion in assets. Yet, in the blink of an eye, he's ready to hand over 30 billion to Junyang. Is he planning to give Junyang all of his liquid assets? Unfortunately for him, his secretary is now on my side and didn't inform him that Junyang's name wasn't on the contract. That very night, Junyang showed up at my villa, wanting to ask me about the endorsement deal. My mother turned him away, claiming I was already asleep. Now my mother's health has returned to normal, but Junyang doesn't know this. Fearing it might upset my mother, he left first. "Today is a good day. the day Juanyang's career collapses, the day Juanyang's agent's career collapses. It is also the day my father finds himself surrounded on all sides. I applied a sickly makeup look on my mother, and together we went to Juanyang's wrap-up event. By the time we arrived, the scene was already in chaos, thanks to my behind-the-scenes efforts. This time, all the reporters in Haicheng had come to capture the first-hand footage, making the scene even more spectacular than in the previous life. The female actors from the crew had already broken through the encirclement, each of them cursing the director and the male actors for being shameless and wasting half a year of their time. Juanyang's identity as the illegitimate son of the richest man was also exposed at the same time. In the previous life, he had revealed it himself at the peak of his glory. But in this life, he was exposed in the midst of his disgrace. #richest man's illegitimate son likes men trended on social media. This time, I released the videos of Juanyang and my father from their childhood. Mom immediately pretended to faint and was photographed by a large number of reporters. I drove her to the hospital and doctor she had arranged in advance. #richest man's first wife hospitalized due to heart attack after husband's affair. A series of news stories spread like wildfire across the internet. I spent 50 million hiring online trolls. The incident was real, and the scandal was juicy enough that no matter how Dad tried to suppress it, he couldn't keep the news under wraps. According to my secretary's report, he had already smashed 20 cups in his office. The stock kept plummeting, and as consumers were about to abandon Chu Jiangwen, the scumbag, hundreds of companies under the Chu family's name received a flood of order cancellations and partnership terminations. This list was deliberately released by me, not a single one missing. In my past life, my father and his illegitimate son left me penniless and with nowhere to turn. In this life, I'll let them experience what true despair feels like. Online, Juanyang was beaten black and blue, his once handsome face now unrecognizable. The secretary informed me that Dad is coming to see Mom and me, and wants us to post a statement online saying that the illegitimate child is his real child, while I am just an accidental child. With Mom, he married Mom only because she has a heart condition. He really dares to think, planning to sacrifice Mom to save himself. If Mom were unaware and her heart condition hadn't improved, she would be furious to death at this moment. This should be the outcome he deserves. He still intends to sacrifice me and Mom to fulfill his selfish desires. I had Mom pretend to be unconscious in bed. When Dad arrived at the hospital room, I started the live stream. "Sweetie, is your mom still not awake?" Seeing my mother with her eyes closed, he felt somewhat disappointed. Ever since hearing about Dad's affair, she's been in a deep sleep. The doctor says Mom doesn't want to accept reality and refuses to wake up. Dad's shrewd eyes darted around a few times. "Sweetie, help Daddy out, will you? Tell the media that your mother told you she was just the other woman between me and Yangyang's mom, and that I had to abandon the one I loved because she has a heart condition." I took a few steps back, looking at him in disbelief. "Dad, how could you slander Mom like this? Are you trying to kill her? She has a heart condition. If she finds out how you've treated her, it could kill her." By the end, I was practically shouting, unleashing the resentment and bitterness from my past life all at once. Why, even though Juanyang has already collapsed and rotted away, he still insists on protecting his illegitimate child and mistress. He could have resolved this with a completely different story, that he was drugged, the mistress got pregnant, and for the sake of the company, he had no choice but to play along. He could have claimed he never gave them any family assets, only provided for their basic needs. That version would have been far more convincing and would have done much more to salvage his company's reputation, yet he still chose to sacrifice me and my mother, just like in the previous life. A worthless son is still better than a daughter. I was utterly disappointed. If he hadn't sacrificed us this time, I might have considered giving him some money. Now, that thought is completely gone. "Dad, you should go back. I can't bring myself to say such things. You were the one who sought a mistress outside to have a son. So how did it become Mom who interfered? Mom has a heart condition. Have you ever thought about how much it hurts her every time you come home after being intimate with another woman? She's already struggling so much. Why can't you just let her go?" Dad irritably loosened his tie. "If it weren't for my money supporting her, your mother's heart condition would have killed her long ago. I've provided for all of you for so many years. Is it too much to ask for something in return? Besides, your mother doesn't have much time left anyway. Isn't sacrificing her the most beneficial choice?" What a terrifying line of reasoning. "Dad, does that mean I'm also someone you can sacrifice at will? If you're framing Mom as the one who interfered, then what about me? Do I become the illegitimate child? Does your mistress become your true love?" and does that illegitimate son become your real heir? Tears streamed down my face as I saw the glistening tears tracing a path from the corner of my mother's eyes. At that moment, my mother's heart was completely broken. Before this, my mother had still tried to persuade me, saying, "After all, he is your father. You were always meant to marry out of the family, even as an illegitimate daughter. You are still the daughter of the richest man, who would dare bully you?" Thinking of my past life, I wiped away my tears. No one bullied me, only you and your illegitimate child, you hypocritical man. When I was 5, there was clearly a heart donor available for Mom, but you gave up on her heart transplant just so you could be with your mistress and your illegitimate child sooner. 11 years ago, you already bought a retirement home for you and your mistress. You don't deserve to be my father, nor do you deserve to be Mom's husband. From now on, we have nothing to do with you. After saying that, I pushed him out of the hospital room. He was still in shock that I knew about the retirement home he bought for his mistress. By the time he snapped out of it, I had already slammed the door shut. I sat on the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. Mom was also in tears, but she didn't cry. Instead, she held me gently in her arms. Outside the door, there was a constant pounding. "Chu Ling, open the door. If you remain stubborn, I'll announce to the public myself that your mother used her heart condition to threaten me into marriage, making our union invalid. Junyang and his mother are my real family, while your mother is the one who seduced me." At the same time, my phone received a notification, a Weibo statement from my father, word for word, exactly the same as in my previous life. I unfollowed him and left a comment, "Scumbag, go die. From now on, my mother and I have nothing to do with you. Don't come near us." Mom saw what was on my phone, opened the door, and with a sharp crack, slapped my father right across the face as he was shouting. The camera on my phone happened to be angled upward, capturing this exact moment. I had no idea that the live stream had already exploded into chaos. That slap was so satisfying. The billionaire's wife must have been holding back for too long. Her slaps were so smooth, 6 in a row, leaving the scumbag completely dazed. The 6 slaps didn't end there. My mom switched hands and delivered another 6 in a row. For a moment, I forgot to cry. I stood up and kicked at the person trying to grab my mom, channeling the hatred from my past life, sending him flying. "You damn scumbag," still trying to hit my mom. Turning to see my mother silently crying, my desire to beat up the scumbag vanished. I took my mother and left the hospital, thanks to my live stream and the online supporters I had prepared in advance. My father's clarification this time produced the exact opposite result compared to the previous life. This time, the majority of the criticism was directed at the scumbag, the mistress, and the illegitimate child. The massive influx of bystanders joining the discussion prevented the water army hired by the Chu family from making any significant impact. Mom publicly announced that she was cutting all ties with Dad from now on. Dad was caught up in the frantic effort to save the company, to help Junyang. He had already used up all the company's liquid funds. Now, with expenses piling up everywhere and no income coming in, the massive enterprise was on the verge of collapse. The secretary told me that the mistress had advised Dad to sell the company to recoup some money, but he refused. I had guessed as much. As the wealthiest man, he had a strong sense of pride and cared deeply about his reputation. How could he possibly admit defeat and sell the company? The situation is that they can't even pay their employees' salaries anymore. Material suppliers no longer accept delivering goods first and settling payments 6 months later. Customers are pressing for deliveries every day, driving him to the brink of madness. In contrast, on my side, I publicly announced that Junyang wasn't signed by me but by my father. The remaining new representatives from Juyin and Meihua are also performing well, so the company hasn't been significantly affected. "Sweetie, lend some money to Dad." "No money, Chu Linger. All this money is mine, and I have the right to take it back. I've recorded everything. You gave it to me voluntarily. Every single cent I earned through my own abilities. You didn't give Junyang his endorsement fee. He still owes me compensation for emotional distress." I took out the contract between Junyang and me, which included a clause stating that if his reputation damaged the company's interests, he would not receive his salary. This clause was specifically tailored for him back then. Although everyone's contract had this clause, only Junyang ended up needing it. "Your star's reputation is problematic. Our company demands compensation." I pulled out a 30 billion contract and made him look closely. It clearly stated the artist was from Chu Ling Entertainment. I pointed at the circle of newcomers. "Who among you is willing to endorse this company that's about to go bankrupt? You can attach the label of the richest man on the verge of bankruptcy, and save yourself 5 years of hard work." Dad slammed the table in anger. Chu Linger, how dare you scheme against your own father, Chu Jiangwen? If you hadn't done anything wrong and had genuinely sought an endorsement, could you have been schemed against? Isn't it just that your scheme against me didn't work out, boss? I'm willing to be the spokesperson. I don't want any endorsement fee. A young girl jumped out. Black fame is still fame. Fine, anyway they're about to go bankrupt. You can endorse however you like. The contract only says, endorsement. It doesn't specify how it must be done. There's no breach of contract. Do whatever gets you famous the fastest. Chu Jiangwen kicked over my coffee table and tea set, but I wasn't angry. I was actually quite happy. The little girl started her endorsement the very next day. Heard that the business of that Jiang billionaire, who nearly gave his wife with a heart condition a heart attack, is about to go bankrupt. Everyone, don't buy from them. There'll be no after-sales service in the future. This guy has terrible character, and the quality is also questionable. She successfully turned this long string of text into a trending topic. According to Secretary Chu Jiangwen, when he saw the little girl's endorsement method, he smashed dozens of cups again. All the backup ones were broken, and we didn't even get to have afternoon tea. Chu Jiangwen sold all the assets under his name, yet he still couldn't cover the massive deficit. The mistress and the illegitimate child have moved out to rent a place. The two of them went to Chu Jiangwen's office to make a scene, asking him what he was trying to stir up, and that if things continued like this, the whole family would end up begging for food. The secretary sent me a video of Chu Jiangwen and Junyang fighting, where they pushed and shoved each other until they both fell to the ground. When they got up, both Junyang and Chu Jiangwen had a different look in their eyes. Seeing Junyang's eyes, my heart skipped a beat. That was the look he gave me when I died in my previous life. No, everything is wrong, he shouted as he ran out of the office. Chu Jiangwen was stunned for a moment, then snapped back to reality, pushed aside the mistress, and also ran out of the office. I was sunbathing with my mom in the garden when I heard movement by the wall. Looking up, I saw Junyang climbing over the wall into the yard. He held a sharp kitchen knife in his hand. He jumped off the wall and lunged toward me and my mother. Before he could get close to us, the young nanny beside us kicked him away with a swift flying kick. The nanny I hired for my mother is a true expert. Considering Junyang's character in my past life, I had taken precautions. Junyang crawled to pick up the kitchen knife. The little nanny quickly kicked the kitchen knife away, and it stuck firmly into a tree. Chu Linger, it should be you whose reputation is ruined. Why, what did you do? Give me back everything, he roared weakly. My movie emperor, my everything. Another sound came from the courtyard wall. Chu Jiangwen had arrived. Also climbing over the same wall, he ran toward the tree with the kitchen knife, pulled it out, and began walking toward Junyang. Junyang stared at him in terror. Old man, what are you going to do? Dad smiled. So you're back too, huh? At this moment, Junyang wouldn't call him an old bastard. In the previous life, after his wife and son died, he gave everything to the ungrateful wretch before him, only to be abused and called an old bastard. What a failure of a father I am, he said with a laugh, slapping the trembling Junyang with the knife. Do you remember what I said before I closed my eyes in the last life? If I ever got another chance, I'd kill you with my own hands. You beast, you killed my wife and child, stole my family fortune, and tormented me for decades. Now it's time to pay. Mom and I watched the two of them speechlessly. Chu Jiangwen slapped Junyang hard with the knife, afraid of aggravating his wounds. Junyang didn't dare move a muscle. Finally, Chu Jiangwen grew tired of slapping him and gave him a solid whack on the head before dragging him away. As he left, he told me, my girl, I'll break his legs. Everything you suffered in your past life, I'll make him pay for it. Hearing this, my mother rushed over to Junyang. Even though he was unconscious, she stomped hard on his legs several times. I pulled my mother back. How could someone so gentle do such a thing? After the courtyard fell quiet, my mother asked me through tears, in that previous life you mentioned, did I die very early? Otherwise, why would I be bullied in this life? Let's grow old together. I'll protect Mom, and Mom will protect me. Okay, alright. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.